With only 9 months left until the agreed date for the start of the war, Robin found himself facing a huge dilemma. How to upgrade a major heavenly law? Had he not known that he would face a great trial after the war by moving to another planet and that he might not return again, he wouldn't have looked in that direction for now. Actually, he might have even ignored Caesar's feeling for good and have him stay as the head of the Fire Legion. But as long as there is even a small possibility that he will not return again, he must arrange his affairs here first. If he isn't here to look after his kid, then he at least have to leave him strong and confident enough. He has to stay as an important asset to the family and not be another knight among many, or the days wouldn't be kind to him after he disappears. Had he not literally owed his life to the all-seeing God, he would not have accepted this impossible mission even if he promised him rivers of gold. But this is life, nothing is free. He knew that this favor would come back to bite him later. He just didn't think it would be too soon, and too big of a bite. Taking it seriously, 2 weeks passed quickly. On the last day of the 2 weeks, Robin came out of his room, which was emitting intense light, and called for Caesar to come in a hurry. Half an hour later, Caesar entered Robin's palace smiling. "Father, I was told you wanted me? I haven't seen you in a while. How are you?" "Sat down," Robin replied without emotions and pointed to the chair in front of him. "Is there a problem?" Robin rubbed his forehead. "I have a feeling that you are not satisfied with distributing your technique to the entire Fire Legion. I feel like you want to be special." "Huh? This is absolutely not true. I like the fact that there are so many like me now and we can communicate and compete with each other, haha," Caesar replied without hesitation. "I can make you special again. Is that really possible?" Caesar cut his laugh and responded quickly. "I can't believe you were really thinking that way. Haven't you grown up yet?" Robin stood up, took a quick step, and slapped Caesar's head. "Damn, what do you want me to do? Can't I be a little selfish?" Caesar responded while patting the place of the strike. Robin returned to his seat. "You may feel selfish about something that is valuable, but the major heavenly law of fire? What is it? It is just a low-level law. Even if it's perfect, it is still nothing. I wanted to give you something much better after shaping our bodies. But then the all-seeing God's warning destroyed my plans for you, and stopped my train of thoughts when he said that you are stuck with the path of fire forever. Now Theo has a better law than you and Zara has a better law than you both. But it's what I got. And you wanted to make things worse and put the technique in everyone's hands? You should have left it to me. Even if it's a low-level law, at least it's still the most powerful offensive law technique on the planet right now." Caesar muttered as he looked at his foot. "Planet? Fool. Don't you remember the words of the all-seeing God in the cave? We only live on a nascent planet. Do you know that concept is this? We are ants. What is the use if you are a stronger ant? What's the use if I delay the strengthening of the family and make you unrivaled in this nascent planet? Would you feel proud of yourself? When another planet invades us, I tell them to wait and come fight with Caesar one-on-one first, and if you lose, go back to where you came from. Do you see this happening? And frankly, I'm not sure you'll win even if it does happen. A law technique like the fire heavenly law perfect technique must be sold on the sidewalks in the stronger planets. Our only hope in living in freedom or dying with our dignity if another planet decided to attack us is to strengthen the family as a whole. And if we are blessed and not conquered till we die of old age, then you will still live with your head held high as you are part of a pack of lions controlling the whole planet, instead of living alone jumping like a clown looking for opponents to fight. Or that's what I was thinking at least. But I felt that perhaps even a pack of lions would need a unique leader to suppress them. Listen, a method has formed in my head that can make you unique. Not only on this planet, but those who are like you in the entire universe can be counted on one hand. And I promise I will not give it to another creature. It will need direct intervention from me and from Zara anyway to call it a success. Really? Caesar almost jumped from his seat. He almost gave up already due to Robin's speech, and the idea of merging with the herd had already begun to form in his head. Don't be happy yet. That comes with taxes. Robin shook his head with a laugh and then continued. Your new technique will be unique and complex, which means that I will be late in making advanced stages for it. There is a good chance that all of your peers will outlevel you in cultivation for this reason. No problem. Even if they get past me, I will still beat them up. But what exactly is that technique? Tell me what's going to happen? Then Robin continued, waving his hands. Beat them, you dash? All right, Mr. Exited, let me explain something here. I said I'd make you unique, but I never said I'd make you stronger. Honestly, I don't know what those adjustments would do to you. You might get even weaker. I have no problem with this. I am very strong anyway, and I always felt that I need something to hold me back a little. Caesar hit himself on the chest. In Caesar's mind, he has already made his choice. As long as the idea of strengthening the family as a whole is in Robin's head, there is no problem if he himself remains as strong anyway, or even a little weaker. There will be many more knights to replace him if he even got crippled in the process. The black sheep's position in the herd is still better than the current situation. Robin didn't even find what to say. Caesar was seriously wanting to stand out, but he sighed and continued. You have already set up your pillars and reached level 14. To adjust that, I will have to use the foundation modification technique on you, but I'll need to dramatically adjust the technique first to make it work on your situation. And because what will be modified is not of the same law with which you set your pillars, you will feel real agony throughout the process. I can't even describe that pain. I can only say that what you have suffered all your life as a warrior will not compare to your first cry when we start. And after we start, we won't be able to stop. Do you still want to do it? And since when does pain scare me? That's the last thing I can care about. Caesar proud. I'll see how long you are going to act this brave. Well, it is settled now. Go now and isolate yourself in a long seclusion. Start clearing your mind and gathering energy in your body. You'll need every bit of help when we start the first session. 2 months from today, bring Zara, Theo, and Peon and come here. After the last word, Robin got up and went back to his secret underground room. Oh? Just 2 months to make a technique like this? Looks like you've been planning this for years, but you've been hiding it to surprise me. Haha, all right. See you in 2 months. Caesar quickly walked out the door. Robin smiled, seeing his son acting this happily, then shook his head and headed towards his room again. After closing the door behind him, the intense light returned to the room and a voice echoed after, What have you decided? He wants to do it. Robin replied calmly on his way to his chair. Haha. I told you he will say yes no matter how much you try to scare him. Kids don't care about the big picture. In fact, you should be like him. Robin gave a weak chuckle. He is a good kid. I hope this last gift will turn out to be a good one. Let's continue. After 2 months. Aerga. Arg. Loud screams shook the entire administrative area, and even the streets close to the administrative area could hear it. Everyone who hears the screams that seem to have been sent from the bottom of hell feels a shiver in his back and tries to get away from the place. They can't imagine what kind of torture the one screaming is going through. Like, is he being boiled alive? Some came and tried to enter the palace and see what was going on, but the guards stopped them, saying it was Robin's orders. Seeing that the guards themselves are shivering, everyone who came left again silently. Father, he can't take it anymore. Theo gathered a few words and spoke in a rough voice. His tongue had been fully restored only 2 days ago, and he is not used to talking about it yet. But it is clear that the speech is not alien to him, and he was talking when he was young before his tongue was cut off. He must take it. Pump more energy. Robin muttered, placing his hand under Caesar's stomach. Why, yes. Zara panicked and started to increase the green aura energy she was pumping onto Caesar's back. Ah! The new life energy didn't the situation on him. Blood is still pouring from Caesar's eyes, ears, and mouth like waterfalls, and the ground beneath him started cracking. What are you two doing? Hold him tighter. Robin shouted at Theo and Peon. Each of them was holding a foot and an arm of Caesar. All right, I'm almost there. Robin continued to mutter as he stared down Caesar's stomach with a big smile. Ah, are you smiling? What the FVCK are you smiling at? Help! Caesar's cries increased when he saw Robin smiling like this. He felt that he was a demon and not his father who raised him. This is it. Now! Suddenly Robin shouted and then slapped Caesar's stomach so hard that he spit out blood. Then he stood up and inhaled. Phew, all right. You two can leave him now, Zara. Pump all your remaining life energy into him. Pion and Theo left him and went panting and wiping away their sweat on the side, leaving aside Caesar's constant resistance and his tries to escape that tired them out. Just seeing the operation and participating in this torture exhausted them mentally. Caesar fell on his face in pain and let down little groans as Zara tried to help him with life energy. After a few seconds, Theo also came to help him by wiping the blood off his face. His father promised and fulfilled, without a doubt. This was the worst experience in his life. He fought knights higher than him by many levels and hideous beasts much bigger than him, and he even found himself in a beast's belly once. But he was never put under pressure like what happened today. The best thing that happened today is that it is over. But then he got that off his head quickly and started thinking of what comes next. He has finally become special again. Tiskai thought I would do the 20 sessions once a week, but this weakling won't help me achieve that. I think he will need at least 2 months to fully recover from this condition. I'm afraid his transformation will not be complete before the war. Hey, take him with you and treat him. Then they brought him here for me in a month, so we can start the second session. Robin spoke and wiped his face and hand from Caesar's blood. 20 sessions. But Pion's handsome face turned into shock when he heard this number and returned to look at Caesar quickly to check on his condition after hearing it. He found him lost consciousness and his eyes were open to the last of them, as if he had heard the worst curse in history. Enough, please. I don't want to be special anymore. For the second month in a row. And then the third. Caesar's cries didn't stop. Even as he rests in his room and is taken care of by Zara's life energy every few hours, he gets up in panic and screams. Those sessions hunt him even in his dreams. This delayed Pion's left arm restoration, but he was more than willing to wait. Seeing those terrible sessions with his eyes made him unable to think what Caesar is going through. He fought alongside him for many years and know how tough of a guy he is. For him to scream like that, he just told Zara to focus on Caesar and forget about him for the time being. And of course, looking at his handsome scratch-free face in the mirror was already pleasing enough for now. One way or another, Zara found herself busier and more exhausted even after she was excused from making the runes. As for Robin, in between Caesar's heartbreaking cries, he found the time to start something new. Caesar's need for a month of rest after each session gave Robin extra time to go back to designing the rune that he had previously planned. The initial idea is to produce a talisman that is useful for personal protection and in one-on-one fights. The Fire Explosion Talisman has a wide range and is almost dedicated to large-numbered battles. Even if a young noble from one of the big families has a talisman of this type, he will think 1,000 times before activating because he also will most likely be affected by the burning wave as well. And during the third session vacation, Robin has already completed the design. When the talisman is activated, one compressed wind blade will come out towards the target, splitting it in half. But just like the Fire Explosion Talisman, the Wind Blade Talisman was kept at low levels of power due to the need for enormous soul energy to create and also tremendous natural energy to activate the higher levels. So it remained in 3 initial copies, one at the 6th level, one at the 8th level, and the other at the 10th level, and the designs were sent to the Academy. As for any higher level, it was left to Robin. There are only 5 months left. Everything is going smoothly, however the atmosphere is getting tense above Jura City. Even though most people don't know anything. The senior knights and saints in the Burton family began to leave their seclusions and go out to supervise the final training of the army and prepare them before the coming wars. They all came out in high spirits with smiles of contentment and pride. Most of them had broken through to a higher level, and even those of them who had not yet broken through, their strength had increased by miles after they repaired their pillars and previous levels and brought them to the perfect shape. Another 3 months have passed. Robin managed to break through to level 12 of knighthood, and contrary to his hopes, not much changed from last time. Once again, all the energy seemed to disappear after breaking through to the next level. Instead of the usual slight increase in energy capacity and soul strength, nothing else happened. His body was still as weak as before. Last time Robin explained what happened as that all the energy was directed towards developing his eyes of truth. But what about this time? After a few days of trying to uncover anything new, he found that the second stage patterns of the laws around him had become clearer, but the difference was almost unnoticeable. Once again, his eyes took everything. And as such, the road of the weakest knight in history is still ongoing. Asterisk, maybe I'm doing something wrong? Perhaps I should ask the all-seeing God. Asterisk, said Robin himself, but quickly shook his head and slapped his face. He just exhausted the guy with Caesar's new technique. With every second he spends on this planet, he loses a lot of his power. How can he call for him again this soon? Secondly, even if he is wrong and he actually did something wrong in the way he break through to level 12, silence is better than asking the all-seeing God about it. Asking for help for Caesar was one thing, but for himself? The all-seeing God puts him in a high position and speaks to him like a little brother. With what face can he contact him and tell him I can't even make a breakthrough? And also he did everything perfectly. What was his fault if his eyes were absorbing all that energy? If there's anything he can blame, then it is this planet, because the energy on it is still scarce in the atmosphere that the breakthrough is over every time before his body can get any benefit. His personal analogy of this situation is that of a bowl filled with air or water. The gathering point of the energy in his abdomen can handle a certain amount of energy, but its quality is definitely a factor. Maybe if he was born somewhere else, the situation would have been different. With this, Robin put the issue of knighthood breakthroughs aside, not wanting to think about it anymore, and began to look towards something else that would fill his time: talismans. In just a few days he managed to design another type of talisman, the Fireball Talisman, on the same idea as the Wind Blade, that the attack should be directed at a specific person, so Robin designed a talisman that shoots a ball of fire towards the target. In front of opponents who wear powerful armors or are at a level higher than that of the talisman, using fire against them will be more effective. At least it will take them a few moments to deal with the fire on their clothes. And just like the Wind Blade, Robin designed 3 levels 6, 8, 10 and sent them to the academy to make an urgent batch of them before the war started. As for the Foundation modification session on Caesar that month, it did not take place. Robin told him to focus on recovery before the war began and that he would complete it for him later. After all, only 2 months left. The news surprisingly didn't make Caesar happy, but he actually tried to talk Robin into doing 1 or 2 more sessions. After seeing the changes in his power after only 6 sessions, the hour of pain he spent monthly suddenly became worth it, and it's actually not as painful for him as before. But Robin refused straight away. Leaving aside his exhausted body, Robin feared for Caesar's mental health. Going through such torture on monthly biases is already enough for a strong grown man to lose his mind after only 3 sessions. And also, the changes that are happening in his cultivation base are starting to show their effect on his personality. The following days witnessed a great acceleration of events. Before General Edward left, he had already gathered an army of more than 120,000 soldiers, and by now the army actually reached a surprising 200,000 strong. The battalions began to take their final form, the officers and generals were divided according to their specializations, and the final free training operations began. The 3 boys also began preparing their squads and the officers below them to make it easier to control their new special forces. It was also decided that St. David, level 25 now, would lead the army to war and started making plans. Within another 3 weeks, the army was ready to fight at any moment. At the end of the 3rd week, a month and a week before the arrival of the appointed time, Robin went to the Patriarch's office and told him, "It's time to get our weapons here. Send to General Edward and tell him to start advancing towards us, and put our army here on active state, just in case." 4 days later, Robin's palace. "Robin, Robin!" Billy hurried in and started yelling. "I'm here. Why are you screaming like that? Is there anything new?" Only 4 days have passed since he issued the orders to move on such a large army. General Edward certainly still hadn't reached the border with the Duchy of Evran yet. Disaster! Edward has sent us a message now. He says that his intelligence unit has detected large movements on the border with the Duchy of Evran, and that there are at least 220,000 soldiers waiting for them there, and the numbers are increasing. What? Robin was dumbfounded. This wasn't supposed to happen. Damn it! Robin clenched his hand. A direct confrontation with Duke Donald Evran was not something he wanted. He thought the army would be enough to intimidate him and let them pass. This is a major problem that couldn't be taken lightly. Does the Patriarch have an opinion on this? He is now gathered with the rest of the saints and has sent me to tell you the news and bring you there. Come with me. Then Billy put his hand on his shoulder and quickly pulled him with him. Seconds later, the meeting room in the Patriarch's personal facility. What now? Is it another war? Can we even do it? The army of Duke Everin is very strong. Whether in the numbers of knights and saints, armaments and war horses, or the great military experience, they are all elites. I suggest that Edward stop the army and have it stay at the New Lands until we find a diplomatic solution with Donald Everin. Impossible! A shout came from the door at this point, and then Robin entered. If the army is stopped now, who will ever give us face after that? And what do we do after we stop it? Surely he will impose penalties for trying to cross the borders without permission and raise the taxes to 20% or 30% at least. You came. The Patriarch, who was sitting at the head of the table rubbing his forehead, straightened, then added, "Do you have an opinion on what we should do? The Bradleys and Alton's war with the Lying Water Kingdom will not end quickly. We can attack Tawny and Rufus later on, or we can just turn a blind eye to them for good. They are nothing. Let's get rid of Everin's threat first. These weapons with General Edward must arrive at Jura, then be sent to the two duchies at the appointed time before their war, or else the promise I made to the Dukes of Alton and Bradley will be for nothing, and I'm not a man who breaks his word. You are not suggesting an open war against the most powerful duchy in the kingdom, are you?" One of the saints asked sarcastically. "I still have some love in my heart for you, Uncle Smith. Please don't try to irate me. I'm not in the mood today." Robin replied with a sharp smile, which made any further words remain in the saint's throat, then continued after being silent for a few seconds. "Does anyone know when the two armies will meet? According to the army's natural progression speed and calculating the distance, it will reach the border with the Duchy of Everin in 2 days." Patriarch's reply. 2 days, murmured Robin, his eyes starting to move over those present at the room. 13 saints in all, the 5 Burton's old saints plus 8 recent saints. After a few seconds, he made up his mind and said, "It is all right then. I will go there immediately with backup." "Huh? What good is this?" "This will give Everin enough time to gather more soldiers, while we are so far away. If our army moves now, we will be there in about 10 days. Billy shook his head. "Do you even have a plan?" "Not all of us will go. I will take the legions of fire, wind, and darkness, and I will also take you, Billy, and the 8 new saints here. We will ride at once on the war horses. As for the Patriarch and everyone else, remain here with the main army and bring them behind us as quickly as possible and with much noise as possible as well. The whole kingdom must know that you are marching. And what would 3,500 youths and 8 level 21 saints do in a major war like this?" One of the saints did not like what he heard. "I will think of something on the way to stop the war peacefully if possible. If he doesn't stop, our 2 armies are capable of burning the Duchy of Everin to the ground with everyone in it. I want to see how long that Donald wants to test my patience." Robin's reply. The saints began to look at each other. One of them was about to speak when the Patriarch gestured at him to stay silent and spoke while he was looking at Robin. "We will do as you say." Robin nodded and went out and pulled Billy in his hand, and as he came down the stairs he spoke to him. "I see you've broken through to level 23 lately. Congratulations. Go and tell the 3 boys to gather their men. We'll be off in an hour. Aha! Find me a way to communicate with General Edward and with Sage Albert." "No problem," Billy replied, and then jumped out of a nearby window. In the conference room upstairs. "Why do you let him do whatever he likes, Brian? He's still an inexperienced child. Have we lived our lives in vain for you to only take his word for it and ignore us? He has tossed us in 2 major wars already, and now he wants a 3rd one, with a duchy this time, and you still want him to do whatever he wants? Why don't we just stay where we are selling talismans at auctions and live off its profits? Why do we have to march because he says so? I don't agree to this." A new saint started shouting after confirming that Robin had left the building. The Patriarch looked at the man who spoke with disgust. "Be very careful in your words about Robin. Haven't you broken through to sainthood yourself a year ago because of this child? Where were we 10 years ago, and where are we now after his contributions to the family? Years ago he implicated us in a war against another kingdom. Most of you said at the time that he was delusional and that I made a mistake in listening to him, and some of you almost refused my direct orders to take part in the war and threatened to take my seat if things went down the hell. And what happened in the end? He brought us half a duchy and the title of Marquis. He might be hot-headed and have no experience in politics, but I trust his vision. Let us hand him the reins once more and see what happens. I believe the fortune of the Burton family has just started. 2 hours later, dozens of miles from Jura, 2,500 strangely shaped horses go about their way as if they were kings of the roads, bigger than normal horses, and its faces looked fierce, with its necks and bellies were covered with natural armor. These were the war horses. Almost half of the horses had 2 individuals on their backs, and yet they ran without fatigue as if they were carrying 2 feathers. "Billy, give me the rings." Robin, who was riding at the front of the troops, at last spoke, and that was the first sentence he had said since leaving the urgent meeting. Billy threw him a sound-type talisman ring and another a soul-type energy new one. With one look, Robin knew which one could communicate with the person he wanted. So he passed his natural energy inside the sound ring and spoke loudly, "General, can you hear me?" After a few seconds, a voice answered, "Is this the voice of Noble Robin? Are there any new arrangements? I want you to slow down the movement of your army and to reach the border after 3 days instead of 2. And when you arrive and the battle begins, take a defensive position and do not use talismans except in the case of deterrence. Try to procrastinate as much as possible. I am coming with support and I will meet you in the battlefield after 3 days." After a few more seconds, "There is no need for support, Noble Robin. With the number of categorized weapons and talismans I have confidence that I can wipe them all. All I need is your order." "I know you can, but what about our losses? And how do you intend to deal with the Saints? Doesn't the information say that the Duke is personally waiting for you here? Do you have a plan that you can win with minimum losses? Let's say you win, how do you plan to still march in their lands until you get to the Duchy of Alton? You think they won't try to attack again and again along the way?" Edward didn't reply. There was no way to stop them. The best thing he could do was to quickly destroy the Evern's army by raining down on them with talismans while appointing the hundreds of new knights on his side to defend against the saints of the Evern family. These new knights were the offspring of the new noble families who had just broken through to knighthood. Currently, there are about 800 of them, which is already comparable to the knight forces of a duke family. But they are all at level 11 or 12. Facing high-leveled saints would cause a massacre between their ranks even if they succeeded in stopping them for an hour or 2. And this plan also ignores the knights on the Evern side, and also ignores what will happen after the battle. If this plan was implemented, it would surely have resulted in extremely heavy losses. It's not like the general has lost it, but this is the only way that has a small margin of success. Only by keeping on pushing and taking it one step at a time can he cut through the Duchy of Evern and arrive at his destination. He knows that even with success, he will lose more than half of his army and his knights, but this is better than standing in his place or going back. For he knows that the Burton family lacks saints and knights, and they will not help him with anything big even if Robin comes to him in vain. "That's what I thought," said Robin when Edward didn't answer again. "Do as I told you and keep my army safe. See you in 3 days. Then he put the double seal in his pocket and passed his energy into the new ring and sent in his spirit. "Hello, Sage Albert. I need a favor from you." "Is this Robin? What do you want?" Robin felt words that appear within his soul. It was the sage. "You should know already the situation at the borders between our new lands and Evern's, right?" "Sigh, yeah, I know. Both you and Donald have stubborn rock heads. And this is not only about you, but this will also affect the Alton and Bradley War and might stop it before it begins. Tell you what, stop your army and I will talk more with Donald about it. Maybe we can come to a solution that satisfies both of you." The sage spoke heavily. "Satisfies us both? How can this happen? Make him take only 5% of my possessions. This isn't going to happen. No one will take even one soul card against my will. I will not stop my army. And if that Donald tried to stop them, then the battle will begin as soon as Edward reaches the frontier, and I have brought the main army from Jura and we are heading there right now." Robin, what are you up to? Are you crazy? Don't you know how strong the Evern's army is? You will destroy each other." Finally, The sage lost his calm and started shouting. But Robin did not pay attention to his reaction and continued. This is a matter of dignity and respect, and I have confidence that I will destroy them first. I will eat through that duchy with my 2 armies and raze every single city to the ground. Do not blame me. It's you who have given that guy too much confidence. You should stopped him earlier instead of watching by the side and waiting for me to yield. I yield to no man. Your Highness, if you don't want to start a war that burns everything to the ground at your beloved Duchy of Evran, please listen carefully to what I have to say, and do it. One day later. Father, we are approaching the border between the Duchy of Alton and the Duchy of Evran. There are about 200 soldiers guarding this point, and among them are a few knights. What do we do? Caesar approached Robin and told him the report. Ignore them. We will continue at the same pace. They will definitely try to stop us. Caesar narrowed his eyes. If they did, then kill them all. Simply speak, Robin. Ha ha ha, that's what I wanted to hear. Caesar laughed loudly and then looked behind him. The 9th and 10th divisions, advance ahead of us and storm the checkpoint directly. If one of them tells you to stop, kill them all. This is your first test. Do not lower the Fire Legion heads in front of His Excellency. Yes, Commander. Half an hour later, inside a large tent on the border area between Burton's New Lands and Evran, a man hurriedly entered and bowed. Your Highness, there is urgent news that just arrived. A relaxed-looking man covered with lots of jewels calmly replied. Speak. There is a small band of the Burton family of about 3,000–4,000 individuals coming from the north on war horses. They have completely destroyed the border post with the Duchy of Alton and killed hundreds of our soldiers. According to reports, they are coming straight here. Huh? Ha ha ha. Well done, Brain. Instead of coming personally and kneeling to come to terms with me, he sent a suicide squad. The Duke continued to laugh hysterically until the wine spilled from his hand and then continued. Let the garrisons of the cities along their way come out along the way for them to kill them, and if they escape from them, send an order to St. Gerard's Legion to tear them to pieces at Jaffa Plains. I don't want to hear anything else about them anymore, or anything happening inside the duchy actually. You take the orders and settle the matter between yourselves. The messenger bowed and retreated. Just mentioning the Legion of St. Gerard ended the matter. It is one of the protection legions deployed to participate in rapid wars and put down any rebellion. An integrated elite legion of 20,000 elite soldiers, 3 saints, and more than 50 knights. One day later, TSK Edward Bradley and his army should have arrived today. What's holding them back till now? Have they decided to listen to the sound of reason and stop before they anger me? Donald Evran spoke in annoyance. I don't think though, Your Highness, it's just that their pace has slowed down a lot. With their current speed, I think they will arrive tomorrow at dusk. A man beside him bowed and spoke. This was the son of the Duke. Tomorrow? Another day to spend in this disgusting place? What a headache. I will make an example of them tomorrow. I will humiliate that damn Edward thing. Donald spoke while he drank his glass angrily. My lord! My lord! A man hurriedly entered the tent. What's up? What is this disturbance? You again? Didn't I say I don't want any reports about the internal affairs again? Can't you fools handle anything without my presence? Your Highness, this cannot be handled by anyone else. The Burton squad I mentioned to you yesterday have killed the garrisons in several cities on their way until they reached the barracks of St. Gerard's Legion. There the entire legion was destroyed and St. Gerard Evran and his 2 lieutenants were killed. What did you say? The Duke stood hurriedly. Even those around him straightened their stances and a serious look came up on their faces. The Duke came forward and grabbed the messenger by the neck. You say that 3,000 individuals from the petty Burton family massacred St. Gerard's Legion? The same legion with 20,000 soldiers. What happened exactly? Do they have some kind of new overpowered talismans? No, the report says that a large number of them are knights. They walked through St. Gerard's Legion right from the middle, without firing a single talisman from the start to the end. Knights? That many? The Duke left the messenger and fell to the ground and mumbled, then asked again, What about Gerard and his lieutenants? How did they die? There are 9 saints with them. It was a one-sided massacre that ended in less than a minute. The messenger looked at the ground and replied, 9 saints. Since when did the Burton family have this many saints? That bastard Galen Bradley must be helping them. The Duke shouted. Those coming troops are neither a suicide squad nor coming for a picnic then. They are coming to participate in a real war. A war against me? I will disdash. When the Duke reached this point, he stopped and did not know what to say. This crossed all his calculations. Empty provocations and threats turn into a real war, and there are already thousands who died in it, including 3 saints. This was not what he wanted. The next morning, inside the Duke's tent. How long is it until Edward and his army arrive? And did they send any messages yet? Asked the Duke, rubbing his forehead. Less than an hour, my lord. And no, I just checked. They didn't send anyone. One of the saints replied. Duke Donald nodded. Be it then. Let's finish what they started. Get ready for battle. We need to start with full force to capture Edward swiftly with minimal losses, then we... Before the Duke could finish his enthusiastic speech, he found that a ring from the box of rings next to him started to glow. This box containing rings of communication with the rest of the big shots in the kingdom. Sage Albert? The Duke was surprised when he saw that very ring. He then grabbed it and slid his energy into it. Ha, Your Highness. I trust that you have been well. How can I help you? Donald, is it true that you have raised an army and are planning a war against the Burtons? What the hell are you doing? Sage Albert's voice was clearly angry. Donald's smile vanished as he furrowed his eyebrow. What is the problem with that, Your Highness? They are the ones who have amassed an army and are approaching my borders, so how can I not protect my lands from such invasion? They have been arrogant lately after they managed to make some gold, and they need to be reminded of their true worth. Second, since when do you care about such internal matters, Your Highness? Don't say you intend to protect them from me. Bullshit. Didn't they gather that army after you closed your borders to them with your exaggerated terms? You want to plunder 10% of their work monthly. How do you think they will reply? You are right, the royal family doesn't get involved in such matters. I won't help them with this, but I won't protect you either. Protect me? Ha. Thank you for your generosity, Your Highness, but I don't need protection against those merchants. They think they are out of reach because they have some talismans. I will show them and the whole world that they are not. The Duke laughed angrily. Since when did he need protection? Of course, you need protection, you fool. Don't you know who are you messing with? Do you think it's an ordinary Marquis family? Do you think the one who gave them the talisman can't give them additional powers and trump cards of their own? Listen here. The royal intelligence says that over the past few years a huge number of knights and saints have appeared among the Burton family. The reports say that most of their core family members are starting to have extremely quick breakthroughs, with thousands of them got to the knighthood realm already. What? The Duke quickly stood up in shock, but quickly regained his composure. 8. Ha. They must be joking, Your Highness. This cannot be true. It just can't. Humph. You think I have time to make stories to scare you? Do what you see fit then. But my reports say that one of the many Burton troops is on its way towards now. I believe you will see them very soon. They are not elites or anything special. All you will see among them is only a portion of their main forces. And their main army, which is about 200,000 soldiers strong, has already moved out of Jura City and is on its way to your duchy right now. Sage Albert snored and replied sarcastically. You mean those 3,000? They are all from the Burton family? Of course. From where are they from then? Did you think Galen sent them? Don't you know what Galen is doing now and his preparations for war against the Lying Water Kingdom? Do you think he is that free to deal with you? I have said what I wanted to say. When you see them in front of you, you will know that they are really Burtons. I just hope it's not too late for you by then. I don't want to see an old friend dying for nothing. Goodbye, and good luck. The sage hung the communication line, leaving the Duke with his face flat as if he had seen a ghost. They, Burtons, he muttered with a low voice before collapsing on his chair once more. Thousands of miles away, the capital of the Black Sun. Ha. I think my performance was convincing enough. That damn little weasel. I can't believe I let him use me like this. The sage started panting after he ended the call. This was the first time he had to lie in ages. After another 2 hours, with the war horses moving at full speed and the ground shaking beneath them, Robin inserted his energy into the pear-type voice ring. "General, how is it going on with you?" After a few seconds, a voice came. "Noble Robin, I'm already at the border. They refused to let us pass and the battle began about half an hour ago. I started with minor skirmishes and defensive moves as you ordered. But the strange thing is that the Evran army is doing the same. They too have sent just a few defensive infantry units. Then they just stood at the back watching. I think they are waiting for something. The situation is currently in a state of complete standstill." Robin smiled upon hearing that and then replied, "Good. In a quarter of an hour you will see me in front of you. Listen carefully. I want you to." After another 2 minutes of speaking, Robin hung the communication line. "Robin, how is it? Is there anything new?" Billy approached and asked. "The Duke seems to have taken the bait. I must thank Sage Albert later," Robin replied, then raised his voice to address everyone. "Put distances between each other, at least 2 meters between each horse and horse in all directions. As for the Saints, please come forward and fly in front of the army. The show is about to begin. At the border right now, 2 huge armies, one of 150,000 and the other of 250,000 stand face to face only 800 meters from each other. Only a few divisions of armored infantry among them fighting as if they were in a training session. Hitting on each other's shields then retreating before an actual injury happened. It has been nearly an hour since the mini-battle began, but there were only a few individuals who actually got injured and 3 who were actually dead. It was as if both sides had taken instructions to content themselves with defending and minimize the losses. Edward Bradley, just give up already. This is something between me and the Burtons. You have no business being here. If you submit now, you ease the negotiation and actually help the Burtons. You are not helping them now." The Duke raised his voice from behind his army. "On the other hand," Edward replied, "I have entrusted this army by its owner, and I will deliver it to him as it is." "The army's owner? Who is this?" "I'll speak Brian Burton later and settle things down. You are the one agitating a war right now. Tell your soldiers to lay down their weapons before it is too late," Duke Donald announced. "Too late? Humph," General Edward huffed, then continued. "All I need is permission or enough reason to turn your entire army into scattered pieces of rotten flesh even before support arrives. If you dare then order an all-out assault and test your luck, you will regret The Duke raised his hand and almost ordered the attack, but the words of Sage Albert echoed in his head, which caused him to restrain himself at the final moment and lower his hand slowly again. "Duke, look behind us," until a shout from the Saints came around him, causing him to turn quickly. Rows behind rows of war horses swiftly coming towards them, and contrary to any other cavalry formation. This formation is too open that the Duke and his high officers and Saints can easily see every single horse and its rider from head to toe. With each look, the Duke and those with him found that every time their eyes fell on one of the cavalries, he would be a knight. Even leaving aside these strangely huge numbers of low-level knights, 9 level 21 Saints with the level 23 Billy in their midst can be seen flying in front of the army at a steady height like the head of a huge serpent. The coming lineup was nothing in size if compared to the 250,000 soldiers that they are heading towards, but they gave the feeling that death itself had come. "Stop! Who are you? Who allowed you to enter our lands? This is an assault on our sovereignty and the punishment is death," one of the Saints next to the Duke shouted after seeing this scene. But the oncoming cavalry team paid no attention to him, and continued advancing until they reached about 300 miles of the army, after which they stopped and Billy began to shout, "I'm Billy Burton, and all around me are my uncles and cousins. Open the way at once for our caravan and its guards, or else we will have to open the way ourselves." "Ha ha ha! You think you can open the Evran's mighty army with a handful of new knights? Come and show me how you will do it." The same Saint responded again and jumped to the rear of the army and began to give orders to turn around and face the coming Burton troops quickly. Neither the Duke nor the rest of the Saints stopped him. They already agreed an hour ago that this man will speak and try to test the waters when the time comes, that why they were here in the first place. Testing the coming enemy while showing their strength, is a must before the negotiation began. If they tried to start the negotiation now after the coming troops killed 3 saints and 20,000 soldiers of their own, they will be in a very passive situation and most likely wouldn't get more than 4% of the desired taxes. But their features worsened with every passing second and every new knight their eyes fell on. Up till now they couldn't find a single one who is at the Energy Foundation realm. Then you won't give way? As you wish. Billy shouted, then he too started giving orders. The legions of darkness and wind descended from the war horses, wielding their long daggers and shiny bows, and moved to the side waiting for further orders. As for the Legion of Fire, they began to join quickly and close the wide gaps between them, and took the shape of a spearhead. They are ready to advance at any moment now. Calm down, Billy, Robin shouted from the tip of the spear, drawing the restless eyes of all sides. At the end, we are the offspring of the same kingdom. We can't spill too much blood today. Ha ha ha. Where did this kid come from? Do you think your little troop of level 11-12 knights can assure your win? Whose blood is spilling today? Not from our side. The saint of the Evern family laughed out loud. Robin did not answer him, but randomly signaled to a knight next to him. The knight nodded and jumped off his horse, then quickly advanced into the middle of the empty field between the 2 armies and shouted, "Who among you would dare to fight me?" The Evern family saints looked at each other in astonishment. The boy who had just come out was just a 12th level knight and about 30 at the most. Where would he dare to challenge the experts of such an army? Humph, if you want a blood sacrifice first, we are fine with it. The saint blew and then signaled to one of the knights at the 12th level also to come forward. The knight advanced silently and with a few leaps cut the distance between him and the knight of the Burton family, and without a word ignited a scorching aura around his body and attacked directly with his sword. It was clear that this knight was not a random person but an elite of the mighty Evern family army. Uninterested in what is happening below, the Duke raised his eyes to look at Billy and the rest of the Burton saints to try to read their features, but to his surprise, he found no concern on their faces and obvious absolute confidence in their man. But he soon understood when he looked down again at the battlefield. He found one person standing and another person burning silently beside him with white flames. What? The Duke shouted and then grabbed the person closest to him. What just happened? How did he die? That knight of the Burton family shot a white flame ball and killed our guy instantly. The saint responded with a fright. So simple? The Duke thought to himself. Didn't he find time to defend or even avoid it? He didn't have the time to complete the attack he made that jump for. But at this moment something crossed his mind and he gritted his teeth and shouted, "Then you are the famous white flame demon Caesar Burton, the one whose achievements and tales about his talent is widespread across the whole kingdom. No wonder you are so full of yourself. What a cheap shoot from you, Burtons. But do you think you can win today with one man? My name is Gotta Burton." The knight in the middle of the battlefield hit his halberd to the ground and shouted while pointing at a certain direction. "None of you worms are fit enough to fight my commander, Caesar Burton." Everyone's eyes quickly got to where he is pointing, a thickly bearded youth riding his war horse at the head of the spearhead. But unlike the rest of the legion, he looked relaxed, even yawning with his halberd still on his shoulder. This is Caesar? Then the white flames. Everyone thought for a second. But that didn't last long as they were intubated by a piercing sound. Robin put his hand in his mouth and whistled, then grabbed the sword that was attached to his war horse, lit a white flame on it and raised it high, then shouted, "Fire Legion! We are here!" Everyone behind Robin imitated him, and in the blink of an eye, all the Fire Legion raised up their halberds and launched their perfect fire law heavenly technique white flame. All except for Caesar. The famous white flame that gave Caesar his name across the 8 kingdoms, the white flame that every human alive was trying to figure out what is it and how Caesar Burton got it, was now shot by thousands of knights towards the sky in a majestic and frightening sight. All eyes turned upwards. A sense of fear and awe struck their hearts like a hammer upon seeing this magnificent sight. Many of the Evern's army men began to take steps back without them noticing it. Their will to survive has taken over their bodies. Even General Edward ignored the petty battle taking place between the infantry units in front of him and floated up to focus entirely on what was happening behind. seeing the magnificent white fire spearhead. Even he felt a shiver running down his spine. But a smile soon took over the initial fear as he thought, so this is the sign. The real show has begun. The burning hot temperature and excessive pressure resulting of the combined attacks of 2,500 knights made the Duke himself involuntarily take a step back with his mouth almost touching the ground. The mini-infantry battle also stopped and all eyes were on the white sky behind them, all thinking of one thing. What would happen if that enormous spearhead-shaped white flames fell on us? As if Robin was hearing their thoughts, his horse began to advance again as he kept raising his sword and pumping more firepower and pure energy into the spearhead, and shouted, "Forward!" The Fire Legion advanced and the Dark and Wind Legion quickly fled a couple more 100 meters to the far left due to the heat. Even the Burton family saints stepped aside and made way. My skin! With each step the war horses took, the rear ranks of the Duke's army took 10 steps back. The intense heat of the fire spearhead wasn't something a group of lower-level warriors could handle. As this was getting closer, the weaker ones were already being roasted alive. "Stop! Stop! What the hell do you think you are doing? Stop this madness!" The Duke started shouting as he started to feel the burning feeling on his skin too. "We have already sent too many messages to those who have minds and we had enough of this fruitless game. This is your last warning, Everins. Move aside right now and clear the way for our caravan and its guards with no strings attached or else." Robin shouted, still advancing slowly. "Ha! Ha ha ha! Or else!" The Duke exclaimed sarcastically and gestured to those standing near him. A total of 32 men and women including himself, all starting to rise to the sky. They were all saints, with several of them having a cultivation base higher than level 25. This was the true full power of the strongest Duke family in the Black Sun Kingdom. This was the gap that made it impossible for younger families to hold their heads high in this world, even if they have the advantage in everything else. Then he looked at both his sides proudly as he continued, extended both of his hands wide as he shouted, "Or else what?" Robin didn't respond again but accelerated his advancement until the distance shrank to only 200 meters. Then he threw his sword aside and raised both hands towards the raging sky above him. "Heya!" Robin seemingly began controlling the massive spearhead of flames above him and started pressing it forward little by little until it moved completely away from the Fire Legion, and began to advance slowly by itself toward the Duke's army. "What are you doing? Stop! Stop!" Seeing that his threat was treated like thin air, the Duke was horrified at the sight. If the spearhead came down on his tight army formations, it would surely kill tens of thousands of them. And just like his threats, his pleas were not heard by Robin. The massive spearhead of fire still advanced steadily. "Damn it! What are you waiting for? Come on!" The Duke called out to his men and quickly floated in front of his army with another 31 saints beside him and shouted, "Support my shield!" The Duke personally deployed a wide energy shield and the 31 saints began to pour all their energy into it. Seconds later, the spearhead hit the energy shield. "Urga! Hold!" In front of the united attack of 2,500 knights, the saints began to be pushed back a little by little, and as the energy shield retreated with them, the soldiers below began to get charred. No! The frightening scene and the intense heat terrified the rear lines of the army and started running in the opposite direction randomly, right towards Edward's army. "I see you sending your men towards me, Donald. Have you decided to start the real battle then? All right then, as you wish. Do not blame me for you are the one who started it. Prepare the fire explosion talismans." General Edward shouted from behind the Duke. "What? No, Edward, wait!" The Duke was still thinking of a way to stop this attack that intended to devour a large chunk of his army when he heard Edward's words that sounded like the worst curse from the bottom of the hell. If Edward now starts raining his unprotected and unorganized army with fire explosion talismans, everything will come to an end. Not knowing what to do, he started shouting at his own men. "Stop, you damn things! How told you to advance? Hold your steps!" He was counting on protecting them with his saints' energy shields. The Duke pumped all his energy into the shield and began to advance forward and push back the white fire spearhead little by little. "Do not hold back, We must vanquish this attack right now or it will be all over. We can't let that damn Edward Bradley attack the army without our protection. Yes. The Evern family saints seemed to have finally come back to reality as they saw their normally calm Duke acting like this, and they pumped out even more energy into the energy shield as they pushed it back. Soon the white fire spearhead started rapidly shrinking in size. After a minute or two like this, it will surely disappear completely. Ha ha ha! Push! Push! Make them see who the Everns are. The Duke felt a zeal and willingness to battle that he thought he would never feel again. He has already decided that after he extinguished the attack to start an all-out battle against those worms who are overestimating themselves. But this feeling did not last long. With the side of his eye, he saw 800 knights in the back, raising their seemingly categorized bows and preparing to launch its arrows towards him and his saints at any moment. These arrows might not kill or seriously injure them, but it sure will make them use energy to protect themselves, which will greatly weaken the energy shield, and if the shield shattered while they were facing such an attack, the losses would be just too great. Another 200 knights had disappeared from their places, and he already lost track of where they are, and the final straw that broke the camel's back. He saw Billy and the rest of the Burton saints taking out small daggers with one hand and darkness talismans with the other. Damn! I had enough. Negotiations. I want to start the negotiations. The Duke's last psychological defenses have completely fallen. That's enough. There is no need for all of this. Every misunderstanding will come to the negotiation table no matter how long it lasts. Let's start negotiations as sensible men and end this madness. The Duke shouted as high as he could after seeing the many moves around him. The 800 knights who are about to use categorized bows and metal arrows, the 200 knights who used darkness talismans and disappeared already, and even 9 saints are about to use darkness talismans well with the clear intention of attacking them while they are busy with the energy shield. Any group of these 3 undoubtedly can deal strong blows to the saints involved in the energy shield, or at the very least distract them. If this happens and the shield is broken, a few saints will be severely injured and thousands of soldiers behind him will turn into ashes. Not to mention Edward, who put his army on standby with thousands of talismans attached to arrows threatening to demolish another large chunk of his army. Everything accelerated very dangerously within seconds. After the Duke's shout, Billy raised his hand with a stopping gesture. The Wind Knights lowered their bows, and the Dark Knights reappeared. But this time they appeared behind 2 of the Evern family saints with daggers in their hands. The 2 saints felt a shiver running down their spine when they saw this. If those 200 knights focused their attacks on them in such a situation, then they are good as dead. Then Billy raised his voice. General Edward, please hold your hands. Don't destroy the Evern family's army just yet. Let's hear what the Duke has to say first. Again? Why don't you just let me blow them up? It doesn't matter. That is your army anyway. Edward replied, looking disappointed, then directed the crossbows to lower their bows. The short conversation between Billy and Edward made the Duke almost vomit blood. But he pretended he didn't hear anything and focused on the energy barrier for about another minute until the massive white fire spearhead lost its momentum and disappeared into thin air. And after the attack vanished, so was the energy shield. Galen looked to his right and left at his 31 saints and found them all sweaty and panting. Then he looked at the person who had caused this, looked at Robin and spoke disgustingly. I see that you have grown claws and fangs. Good for you, sons of Burton. Robin gave a cruel smile as well. But he didn't respond to the Duke's words. He was better off than any Evern saint he sees in front of him. Actually, he is in a worse situation. Even though he knows the fire heavenly law perfect technique like the back of his hands, this was the first time he tried to attempt something like that. He only felt that he could do it when he saw the massive white fire spearhead above him. That took its shape from the knights' attacking formation, and decided to give it a try. Controlling this massive amount of energy drained most of his energy, and even his recently strengthened soul power took a huge blow with as well. Your Highness, I think we have a lot to talk about. Billy spoke without emotions. There is nothing to talk about with scum like you. Didn't you come to pick up your comrades? Take them and get off my land. The Duke spoke angrily. Your Highness, they have killed 3 saints and thousands of soldiers. They were our kin and blood. How can we just let them leave? One of the saints of the Evran family shouted. There is no need for more blood to be spilled today. The Duke replied in a strong voice, then looked at Billy. What are you waiting for? Scram before I change my mind. Scram, you say? Just like that? Moments ago we might have accepted that, but now. Huh? Robin raised both of his hands and shouted, Fire Legion! We are here! Once again, thousands of single fire attacks started rushing upwards and gathering into the shape of a spearhead. Archers, raise your bows and get ready to fire! A shout from Edward resounded on the other side as well. What the hell are you doing? Why are you starting all over again? The Duke shouted while looking behind and in front of him. The powerful image he had taken for himself just a moment ago has collapsed again. His psychological defenses had already been destroyed, but he didn't know. Robin laughed out loud. Do you think your crimes will be solved by giving us permission to leave? Do you think that trying to bully the Burton family will go unpunished? Do you think that you are the one who has the power to allow the other side to leave or not? The last glimpse of the Duke's remaining control was broken by Robin's words. Not able to control himself anymore, he raised his fist and launched an all-out attack at him. The sound barrier broke, causing an air explosion by the might of the sudden attack as a fist-shaped energy burst made its way toward Robin. And oh, Billy and the rest of the Burton Saints know very well that if this punch reached one of them, it would put him between life and death, and if it reached Robin, he would surely be dead. Suddenly a dark shadow appeared and stood a couple of meters in front of Robin's war horse. Boom! The punch fell on the shadow, but to everyone's surprise, he only took a few steps back before stabilizing himself. The shadow that came out of nowhere has blocked an all-out attack from the Duke. Before anyone could make any reaction, Duke Donald felt a cold blade on his neck. When he looked out of the corner of his eye, he found a familiar person. Senior, Gusta, Marley, then that man right there is. Listen, I don't care what happens between you and the Burton family. If you want, you can kill them all except for this boy. It is my duty to protect him at all costs if it happens and he dies somehow today. I will have your head before we go back to the capital. Hope I was clear enough. After Gustav finished speaking, he vanished without a trace. And the saint who had shielded the blow in front of Robin also vanished, leaving everyone wondering what had just happened. While everyone was still engraved with shock and fear knowing that this kind of high-level figures are roaming around them, Robin waved his hand and threw the fire spearhead towards the left group of the Evran Saints, and this time, it was much faster. What is this heat? Help! Arg! Who screams? The Duke slowly turned his head toward the source of the screams. But what had happened had already happened. 3 charred human corpses had fallen to the ground, and 5 others were shrieking as they were trying to put out themselves. They were unable to complete raising any energy shield in time. Paul, Noah, Gloria, the Duke muttered with a dry voice as he looked at the 3 corpses on the ground. 3 of his close family members had perished, just like that. After about a minute of looking at them with a face void of any emotions due to the initial shock, he turned to face the Burtons again with his face changed 180 degrees, staring at Robin as if he is his sworn enemy of this world and the next one. Then he let out a loud roar but he kept floating there without taking another step forward, not knowing how to direct his anger. As for Robin himself, who had blood spurting from his eyes, ears and mouth, started laughing hysterically. Ha ha ha, you still dare look at me like that? Donald? Good. Very good. It seems that you still don't know who are you facing. Caesar, come to my side. Fire Legion. No, no, and oh. Hearing those 2 damn words again, the Duke regained his clarity of mind and began to shout, then started to mutter in a low voice while gritting his teeth. Wait, I understand now. I understand very well. What do you want? Robin smiled and lowered his hand. Now that is better. Did we have to kill a few saints for you to understand? We want all the lands between this point and the Duchy of Alton. Every single inch you had as a border with Dolliver is mine now. Your time is up, old man. Step back and watch the new rising star making his legend. Starting today, the Duchy of Burton will be the one and only frontier duchy with the Kingdom of Dolliver. Upon hearing Robin's demands and the words, Duchy of Burton, all the knights and saints of the Burton family sank in their fantasies for a moment. Currently, in the new lands included, the Burtons control a huge piece of land that can already be described as a small duchy, but they still need another piece at the size of a standard earldom for them to rightfully claim that they have a duchy. Land-wise, the Duchy of Evran is the largest duchy in the kingdom, and if they took all these lands from them, they would have more than enough to declare a duchy of their own. But Duke Donald had another reaction. What did you say? Are you crazy? You killed 6 saints from my family and seriously injured 5 more, and now you are saying that you lot want to take away a quarter of my lands. The most important quarter at that. Who the hell do you think the Evran family are? You started this and you must bear the consequences. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself. Robin reached out to wipe the blood from the side of his mouth, then continued. If you refuse, we will continue today's battle and wipe your army off the face of the earth, and in a few days, you will find my Uncle Brian with our main army standing at the gates of the proud city of Evra to destroy it over your family's heads. No, not the main army. No. The Duke went absent-minded at those words, but quickly he realized he spoke those imparting words out loud and said nothing else as he gritted his teeth. Instead, he scanned his surroundings with the edges of his eyes. Robin's condition is too apparent. Even if he can support such an attack again, he wouldn't make it a 4th time. He currently has 600 knights with many of them above level 15. This is the number that he was able to quickly gather to stop Edward's army. This number, in addition to the presence of himself and the rest of his saints, will be able to stand up to the Fire Legion of 2,500 knights and the 9 Burton saints and potentially wipe them out. He believes that he alone will be able to kill at least 1,000 of those new knights, but also the losses on his side would be too heavy. During the battle, more than half of the saints and knights on his side would surely die. And this is regardless of Edward Bradley, who is waiting for a chance to wipe out the 250,000 soldiers standing behind him. Assuming that a miracle occurred and he was able to defeat and kill them all today, despite the huge losses he would incur. He would have to face another army bigger and stronger than this one at the capital of his duchy. One last look he cast toward the 9 saints of the Burton family. 8 of them were new level 21 saints, but the pressure coming from them outweighed even all the saints by his side, not because of their strength, but because of what their presence meant. The appearance of this number of new saints in one family is certainly not a coincidence. If this is measured by the words of Sage Albert, then even time was not by his side. Not now, not in the future. He finally realized that he chose to kick a metal wall. Reaching this point after about 2 minutes, he sighed, then looked at Robin. You? Who are you exactly? Robin smiled. Robin Burton, just extra son to this family. You don't have to remember my name. Just an extra son being protected by level 30 saints? Haha, well done, extra son. You win? But remember what happened today. Then he turned to face his army and shouted, Move to the side. Haha, of course. I will remember such a glorious day. Robin laughed, then looked around and shouted, Senior Gusta, I hope you have heard this agreement and will bear witness to his words. No one else uttered a word as they all stood and watched Evran's invincible army retreating. The retreating operation took about an hour until the last soldier of the Evren family's army disappeared from sight. I can't believe you did it, Robin. Billy drew out a breath of cold air seeing what is happening in front of him. But I don't understand why he sounded so afraid of our main army. Most of those above the knighthood realm are here. The main army is just a bunch of inexperienced kids that wouldn't stand chance against Ever City defenses. Hey, what did you tell Sage Albert to do, Exadash? Boof. Father. Caesar panicked and jumped towards Robin. With the departure of the last enemy soldier, Robin fell off his horse. Robin. Billy also went down quickly to see his condition. He knew full well how much pressure was put under with those 2 attacks. It's okay. It's okay. I'm fine, Robin replied in a weak voice, as Caesar put his head on his knee and wiped the blood from all over his face. Billy sighed. Whoever saw you swimming among your books and scrolls just a few days ago wouldn't believe that you are the same person now. You really are a bizarre person, my friend. Relax now, you deserve your rest. But Robin did not listen to his advice as he kept speaking after a few coughs. Go and coordinate with General Edward. Leave here a garrison of 50,000 soldiers with 500 fire knights and 3 saints of our family. They must stay until we finish taking over our new lands here, and to protect the eastern lands and factories in Doliver as well. As for the rest of the army, lead them towards the city of Jura to deliver the categorized weapons to their new owners, and tell the Patriarch to stop our main army at the border with Evren to put more pressure on them, so that the Evrens would not be slow in clearing out their troops and handing over our lands. Tell the former nobles who ruled these lands that if they want they can still rule it under us. And if they refused or slowed the process, destroy them. Everything here must be settled before the war on the other fronts begin. All right. I will do as you say, you just rest for now. And Billy barely finished his sentence when he found Robin snoring. He fell asleep. He smiled and shook his head and then looked at Caesar. Put him in one of the wagons. We will go back home. Then he flew towards General Edward to begin preparations. 2 weeks later, Jura City, Patriarch's Manor. Half an hour later. Finally, you are up. Ha. Thank the heavens. The Patriarch stood to greet Robin, who was coming towards him. How are you now? Feeling good. How are the preparations? When can we move? Robin asked as he entered the office. All is well. After leaving 50,000 to protect the new lands and lands in the Duchy of Evren, we have a total of 300,000 soldiers here in Jura. About a quarter of them were armed with rated weapons or armor, and the 3 special legions are armed from their teeth with a fair middle categorized full armor, and a middle categorized weapon as well. We also have about 100,000 fire runes left after in Stoke and at least 5,000 of each of the other types of talismans. Everything is ready for a month now and just some minor orders needed to be issued before we move. We can launch the invasion tomorrow if you want. The Patriarch opened his hand in welcome. Although Mila had general information about this, hearing the frightening numbers from the Patriarch's mouth has another taste. Even leaving the ridiculous amount of the talismans aside, was this an army a Marquis family should have? Robin nodded. Good. We are late already. Gather the whole army. We will set out tomorrow morning. Mila interjected. Gathering the whole army? Did you hear those numbers? Half of them would be enough to deal with a Marquis family. The purpose is not only to win and take a piece of land, but to crush them completely and irreversibly, and this conquest should be an example for everyone so that no one else like the smart Donald Evren would show up and try to test us. Gather them all, Uncle Brian. We will march towards a bigger show tomorrow. Next morning, the horn was blown at the military camps, but it was heard all over Jura City, and all its people went out to see what was going on. Dum. They found that again, after their return from a strong confrontation with the Evren family, their majestic Burton family's army is on the move. May heavens be with you. Our hearts are with you. You are our pride. Kill a few bastards, son, and don't be afraid. You are with a pack of brave lions. Where are they going now? It looks like we are going to go to war with the Lying Water Kingdom alongside Duke Alton. This march of our great army means the annihilation of the Lying Water Kingdom. Ha. Cheers resounded from over the city walls and in front of it as people rushed to bid their sons and fathers farewell. But this time with pride and joy, not fear. With every move this army of theirs made recently, it brought them more lands. With every strike this army has blown, it brought them more glory. But enthusiasm and encouragement did not overwhelm everyone. Some of them narrowed their eyes, and the envoys of the nobles brought out their sound talismans, all sending about the same thing. The direction in which Burton's army was heading was not the direction of the Kingdom of Lying Water. A day later, tens of miles north of Jura City, the movement of the army, numbering a huge 300,000 soldiers, is carried out at such a pace that it does not even scare the little animals and birds. It can be said that they are moving extremely slowly. At the forefront of the army, different formations of war horses moving like they are taking a stroll. It was Robin and the saints in the first row next to each other, and behind them the old knights and then the Fire Legion. while everyone else is having small talk and looking at the beautiful nature around. Billy's ring fades and his eyes narrow. Then he looks in Robin's direction. "Maybe we should move faster," he said. "How much time is left for us to reach our goal?" Robin replied without caring. 3 days if we continue at this speed. If we go a little faster, we may arrive tomorrow," Billy replied. Robin nodded. "Let's move as we are then. Why the hurry?" Billy narrowed his eyes and spoke. "I have news that Marquis Taui knew our marching line and gathered an army of 100,000 soldiers, and is currently summoning all his helpers and every man capable of fighting in his lands. Even Marquis Rufus for some reason felt the danger and began to gather his army." "Good," Robin chuckled. "Maybe we should go camping for a day or two on the way too to give them extra time, so it wouldn't be said we have attacked them when they weren't prepared and bullied them. What do you think, Uncle Brian?" The patriarch nodded. "As long as you say that these invasions are primarily to frighten our enemies in the future, we should really wait for them to gather a little bit more of their strength." Then looked at Billy and added, "Look behind you, who can defeat us? Let them gather what they want. That won't change fate." Although he knows the view well, since every few minutes he checks it with a smile, he looks behind it again. A huge army consisting of 270,000 infantry soldiers, a quarter of them armed with classified weapons, preceded by 30,000 ordinary cavalries, and in front of them were 2,000 knights of the Flame Legion, all clad in full white armor and holding white halberds, their shape sufficient to strike fear in everyone's chest. That not even counting the 1,000 Knight of the Darkness and Wind legions that were traveling ahead of the army and in the shadows to gather information and kill any spies. Everywhere he looked he smiled. What he sees now compared to what the family had 15 years ago, as the difference between mud and full moon. Then he came back to look in front of him smiling and shook his head, but he suddenly remembered something and looked in the direction of Robin. "If you see that this war is about killing a duck using a halberd, why did you come with us?" "Sightseeing," Robin replied smilingly, causing Billy to chuckle and press no more. But the truth was more than this. Since the all-seeing God told him that he would take him to another alien planet after this war, he became worried and is trying to think of things to increase his strength quickly. Just like the accident of personally rushing to aid General Edward, fully knowing the danger, he could have taken the Patriarch, or at least St. David Burton with him, but he was trying to increase the danger to himself to see what he would do with the little forces available to him against odds that were not in his favor. Although he failed in the end and needed to be rescued by the saints of the royal family, he still benefited greatly from the experience. Perhaps watching this war from the side also will give him something of the actual battle experience that he is sorely missing. Freeing his imagination and thinking about what's to come, the new ring on his hand began to vibrate lightly. This was a ring based on the new soul imprint card system. During his unconsciousness, Billy had specially prepared it for him by putting all the soul imprint cards of the important people in it. Robin passed his soul into it to hear the incoming message. "Robin, can you hear me? Please be there. Duke Galen." Robin knew right away who was talking to him and replied seriously, "What can I do for you?" Galen was thrilled when he heard the reply. "Phew, it's good that you finally woke up. Listen, I just got word that the Duchy of Harris, the middle one duchy of the three, stopped their current role and decided to go on the offense. They have sent an army of 300,000 soldiers into the lands of the Duchy of Alton to destroy the entire duchy, and the other two duchies with which we are currently engaged have sent 2 small armies as well, numbering 60,000 and the other 120000. The first of them toward Alton II, and the other army is heading towards my own. 120,000 soldiers are headed directly toward the Bradley Pearl as we speaking." "What did you say?" Robin forget that it was a soul-type sound talisman and shouted loudly, and his war horse suddenly stopped. When the Patriarch saw this, he raised his hand, and the whole army stopped as well, wanting to see what could make him react like this. Then Robin continued, "How the hell did you let something like this happen? Did you and Raymond become transparent now? Instead of mastering troops to stop you, they ignored you both to the point of attacking here. What can we do? The Duchy of Harris is much stronger than we expected. We wanted to eliminate the 2 duchies around it, then enter it from both sides to paralyze it completely and bring it down without resistance. But the opposite has happened, and it is the one who constantly sends reinforcements to both sides, so even as we were winning we found ourselves surrounded with every step we take. It is clear that the Kingdom of Lying Water has been strengthening the Duchy of Harris for years in anticipation of this day. Damn it! Robin clenched his fist upon hearing this. He definitely knew what would happen if those 3 armies succeeded in what they wanted to do. Can't you two send a part of your armies to catch up with them in time? Galen replied quickly. We can divide our forces to deal with the 60,000 and 120,000 strong armies. But this plot is mainly to make us divert our attention and separate our troops. We can't fall for that. What if that part we separate fell into a trap? Are we the main body get a massive attack as soon as our numbers decrease? This is too risky. And leaving those aside, what part can we send to stop that 300,000 strong army? This will require a complete withdrawal and leaving behind us all that we have achieved. Everything we gained so far would be for nothing. Raymond is already thinking about retreating to defend his lands. But if he retreated, I will be surrounded even more and be pushed back in less than 2 weeks. Our only hope is that we both continue advancing now that the enemy troops have gotten smaller. As for those 3 armies. Aha, of course, you two keep advancing and I am the one to confront the 3 armies and save your asses here, right? That was not our agreement. Robin's unstable emotions made those around him confused, trying to guess what was going on. Do you have another solution? Galen replied and then added, no noble in the 2 duchies, but you have a standing army that can stop a conquest of this size. I can call another duchy and ask them for help, but they will suck my blood dry and their demands would be crazy. And they might not even arrive in time and let my duchy burn first. And you think I won't ask for too much? Sneered Robin. Never mind, I will help you this time for Mila's sake. I will stop this invasion first and then we'll reevaluate our whole agreement. Goodbye, for now, I have a big mess to jump into. Seeing that the call was over, Patriarch Brian advanced. What is going on, Robin? Who was this? It's Duke Galen, Robin replied to the Patriarch in a heavy voice. The stagnant Water Kingdom has decided to carry out a counterattack and there are 3 armies on the threshold of our kingdom, 2 of them being 60,000 and 300,000 coming to the Duchy of Alton, and 1 with a strength of 120,000 soldiers is going straight towards Bradley Pearl City. Ah! Hearing that her unprotected city would be attacked by an army like this terrified Mila. Then she quickly looked with eyes all pleading toward Robin. Robin? What are you going to do? This? Billy was shocked as well. That's nearly 500,000 soldiers. And quickly looked at the Patriarch, but found that his face was also turned upside down. Robin remained silent for a while. Although he had promised the Duke to act, he was still in an awkward position. A few minutes ago he was already moving towards his own war. Now he found himself facing a completely different opponent. About a full minute later, Robin opened his mouth. We have to shelve our plans to attack Taui and Rufus families for now. The Patriarch sighed and nodded. This is normal. If foreign armies entered to destroy the 2 duchies and we went to start internal wars in the same duchies, it would be too much of a coincidence. Everyone would say that we are traitors who helped an enemy of the kingdom. The royal family itself might hunt us down if they believed that. Then what do we do with this army we gathered? We just go back to the city? We'll look bad in front of everyone. Caesar heard the words and came on his horse. Go back. Mila panicked. Robin, you have to help Bradley's Pearl City. We should at least defend the Bradley Pearl. They are our allies and they are considered family after your engagement with Mila. Even if the Duke didn't ask you to, we should go there and defend it. The Patriarch nodded. And let the Duchy of Alton burn? Don't forget that we are still a part of it and Jura City might be in danger if we leave. Robin shook his head. We must part ways here. That is the only solution. Uncle Brian, you take 90,000 foot soldiers, 10,000 horsemen, 500 fire knights, 200 wind knights, 3 saints, and a quarter of our talismans, and take any road other than the lands of the Marcus Tauis to head at once to the Duchy of Bradley and block that army heading there. The rest will remain here in the Duchy of Alton under the command of Uncle David to defend against the 2 coming armies, and I will remain here with him. In this way, people will think that we have come out for the defense of the kingdom, and not for an internal war. I think we would look like heroes instead of greedy bastards. There is a bright side after all, haha. This? No one knew what to say. According to Robin's arrangement, he would use an army of about 200,000 against the two armies of the Lying Water Kingdom, which together totaled 360,000 soldiers. Almost double his own. But a few seconds later, everyone nodded. This really was the safest solution they could think of. Then Robin continued, "Oh right, Uncle Brian, Uncle David, I want you to send voice messages to all the nobles in the two duchies, asking for help and equipment or men from them, except for Marcus Taui and Marcus Rufus." Why? As for myself, I don't need help. In fact, I don't intend to take all the army you allot me. The Patriarch shook his head. 100,000 reinforced with all these capabilities against 120 enemy soldiers considered to have an overwhelming advantage. The army that would remain in the Duchy of Alton will need more support. No, you will need the army I gave you. They say the enemy has new strategies to reduce the effect of the talismans. You will need every possible support before you can see those strategies ourselves and find ways no nullify it. As for the help messages, you didn't understand me, Uncle. Then continued Robin. Just send the messages but go straight into the battle and don't wait for reinforcements from anyone. That will only be an extra reason to attack the two families after this commotion is over. We will say we asked for support from the two, but they refused. The Patriarch was silent for a moment and then looked at his cousin David, before they both burst out laughing. Ha ha ha, you brat. You haven't really shelved their matter, huh? All right, then we will do as you said. Good. Let's start splitting the army up for two. We should start moving in an hour with at most. Those three armies won't wait for us until we get ready. We have a race to catch. Robin shouted loudly, and the commanders and officers immediately began the operation in the agreed order. Like headless chickens, everyone was extremely busy in the process of splitting the army into two and redistributing the weapons and talismans. As for Mila, she ignored everything and everyone, and flew off her war horse and got behind Robin's, hugging him from behind and giving him a kiss on the cheek, saying, "Thank you. Ha ha. No need. How can I let my gorgeous fiancé's city be destroyed while I am watching?" Robin began to laugh, bragging, "Come on. Get back on your horse. You are going with the Patriarch to Bradley's Pearl City." "No, I'll stay with you," Mila replied directly and pulled him closer to her. "What do you mean by no? This is your city. Go with them." "No means no," Mila replied, annoyed, then grabbed his ear. "Didn't you hear what I told you earlier? What if someone tried to kill you when I'm not around, my duckling? I will stay by your side throughout this war, until you return to Jura again at least." But Robin did not shout in pain this time, but went to look behind him at the girl who was embracing him with and gave her a strange look, as he was thinking of one thing. Is this girl really starting to love me? Why? It looks like I have underestimated my charm too much. Forward. Less than an hour later, the army was restructured and divided into two, 100,000 of them continuing their way north as they had been. The rest looked towards the east. Billy came beside Robin and General David after arranging their new ranks and asked, "What now?" "Uncle Brian has a clear destination to go to Bradley Pearl. We have two armies to stop and we know nothing about them except that they are coming to the Duchy of Alton. We can't move blindly and hope we find them." "You are right, but for now all I can do is to march at a high pace toward the border with the Kingdom of the Lying Water. As we march we will have our destination given to us. Don't worry," said Robin, then shouted, "Paon." "Yes, father." "What are your orders?" Paon came quickly as a gust of wind and walked next to Robin's horse. His left arm that was cut off at the shoulder evidently grew quite a few centimeters and was already halfway between his shoulder and elbow. "Take a few knights from the Wind Legion with you and move ahead. Find out the locations of the two armies and their next goals," Robin said. "Yes." Paon bowed and then disappeared in the same way he came with. Half a day later, Robin's ring began to care and passed his energy in it to hear, "Father, we have spotted the two armies, the largest of them with 300,000 soldiers, is moving at a slow pace and in a direct line. You will meet them in 5 days if you kept marching in the same direction and at your current pace. And the second army of 60,000 soldiers is moving much faster with an unstable line. They attack anything at sight. They have destroyed a bunch of villages and smaller cities already and are currently clashing with the first barony in northeast of the Duchy of Alton. I fear they will be victorious within an additional hour and will continue to the next barony. Oh? Good job. Follow the movements of the smaller army and wait there until we meet soon. Robin answered and hung up. Billy approached. Is there anything new? We have to split up again, Robin replied slowly. Sigh, I was expecting this. Bailey sighed. Having two armies attacking us at the same time is too dangerous. They can't ignore the other, or they might turn around and attack them from behind. They just hoped that the two armies would join each other after entering the territory of the Duchy of Alton. But Peon's report destroyed this hope. Uncle David, Robin started speaking again. The 300,000-strong army is still 5 days ahead. You don't need to worry about it. Right now we need to stop the smaller one before it manages to inflict too much harm or go much deeper into the duchy. You continue forward with the main army and lead them to a good area to be the battleground for the incoming huge battle. And I will take the cavalry and the 3 special legions and the saints with me to fend off the smaller army. And I promise we will come back for you before the main battle begin. You are only talking a total of about 22,000 soldiers to fend off an army of 60,000? Is it really going to suffice you? St. David's response is uncertain. I think you are right. Well, give me 3,000 extra archers to ride behind the cavalries or their horses. That will increase the advantage. It would be a good sight seeing those talisman arrows flying from moving horses. Haha. That's a total of 25,000 them, still a little. You need some infantry to block them off at least, St. David objected. I hear you, but what can we do? We have to get to them quickly before it's too late, and then get back to you before clashing after 5 days with the larger army. We are bound to an extremely tight timeline, and this is the only option. Sigh, all right, do as you wish then, the general sighed, then raised his voice and began to give orders to divide the army. Again, 2 days later, the Duchy of Alton, the Barony of Levar. They are climbing the walls. Where is Saint Emily? Baron, save us. Save us! Screams resounded around the main city in the Barony of Levar. But they did not find an answer. Those who they are seeking help from are fighting a battle that will determine their life or death. A few hours have passed since a hostile army showed up from the east, bearing the smell of ash and blood. After destroying 2 baronies in succession till the point, their number was reduced to less than 50,000. Destroying 2 baronies and almost finishing the 3rd barony while losing only 10,000 soldiers. This was an elite troop. It is clear that they were trying to avoid collision with any large army that can defeat or stop them. So they raced against time to attack the heart cities of each barony before they can master an army of more than 20,000. But their results were still frightening enough. Their main weapon was agility, and their goal was to cause as much destruction as possible in the Duchy of Alton, then go back to where they came from. Send reinforcements to the eastern wall. It's about to fall. One of the saints of the Levar family cried out loud while fighting with an enemy saint in mid-air. Ha ha ha! Reinforcements? You are just delaying the inevitable. You think your city will survive for another hour? The old man. His opponent laughed and fired several punches at him that prevented him from watching what was happening below again. Although the fighting was still taking place in front of the walls, the soldiers of the Lying Water Kingdom spared no effort to target behind the walls. The flaming arrows ignored the soldiers of the Levar family and descended on the citizens' wooden houses, setting fire to a large part of the city. This was one of the reasons that made their task easier along their way here. All the members of the Baron's army were afraid about their families from the fire, and their minds became distracted, which reduced their effectiveness on the battlefield. And many of them deserted their place to try and find their families before they get burned alive. Ah! His Majesty will not forgive you. You will all suffer a terrible death. After one last look around, the Baron cursed his opponents with a loud voice. It was all over. Even if he somehow beats his opponent, there are still 4 other enemy saints fighting 2 of his family saints. 5 against 3, it's just a matter of time before all 3 die. That not taking in mind his army that is about to fully collapse and his city that is already half burnt. Ha ha ha! You still have the strength to curse me? Then let me take your throat. You dogs! The Baron repulsed the claw attack that was about to take his life. You won't come out of the Black Sun Kingdom alive. Surely someone will. Someone will. The Baron's words refused to come out as he stared at the horizon. Ha ha ha, old man. Finally you decided to keep your tongue in your mouth and wait for death? Did you finally realize how stupid what you say is? You say someone will come and kill us? Nobody even knows we are here yet, haha. After news of your destruction circulates, we will be already slaughtering our next target. Ha ha ha. You Black Sun dogs will regret provoking us. Big brother, look behind you. Huh? Can't you see that I'm busy? What the hell would be more important than finishing this, eh? The saint replied angrily, but the words quickly got stuck in his throat. A suspicious low cloud of dust was approaching from the south at a high speed towards them. What is that? The lying water saint retreated away from the Baron and began to carefully examine the cloud of dust. As the cloud approached, the sounds of hoofs began to respond to everyone's ears. Even the fights in front of the wall began to calm down as they looked at the coming cloud of dust as well. Some of them hope that these are really the sounds of horses and that soldiers have come to help, and the other party hopes that it is really just a sandstorm and the wind is only playing tricks on the lucky. This confusion didn't last long, as everyone was in anticipation of what is coming. A human voice like thunder broke the atmosphere apart. Fire Legion, prepare to engage. The voice of thousands of men exploded from within the dust. Before anyone could react, everything changed before their eyes. The Fire Legion all raised their halberd high, ready to slash it down at their next unlucky target, and lit white flames on its blade. As if a tornado of white flames suddenly erupted, the dust that was around them got burned in an instant, revealing instead a great sea of horses, in the forefront of which were a few rows of war horses. This, are all these knights? 2,000 Fire Legion members, with the weakest of them at level 11 of knighthood. Taking the front few Ross with all of them dressed in white armor and raising their white halberds. Those were actual knights acting like cavalries. Leaving aside this frightening lineup and looking slightly upwards, they were 8 saints flying at a steady pace. Their eyes were fixed at the Baron and the few other figures that were hovering in the skies. It was clear that they were searching for targets. The words were crammed into everyone's mouths. The pressure caused by the Fire Legion cast everyone in a daze. Whether the sons of the Black Sun or the Lying Water, whether saints or those at the first level of the Energy Foundation, everyone stood watching the terrifying and bewitching spectacle at the same time with an open mouth. Flames, white flames. It is them. It is the Burton family. We were saved. After 2.5 days, east of the Duchy of Alton. Welcome back. I honestly expected you to be late another day or two, but thank the heavens you disappointed me. Haha. Saint David laughed loudly as he approached a large group of cavalry coming towards him. Robin jumped off his horse smiling and extended his hand to shake the saints. Haha, you praise me too much, Uncle David. Honestly, I too expected at least another half a day of dilation at least. But we were lucky and got to them in an excellent timing because of Peon and his men's excellent work. The battle was basically effortless. Oh? Come to headquarters and tell me more about it? Saint David patted Robin on the shoulder, then looked behind him. All saints and senior officers come too. I'm afraid you guys will have no rest today. After Robin and those with him entered a huge tent on top of a small mountain, a few old men and women inside the tent stood up and applauded them with smiles on their faces, although they did not know the details of what happened yet there. Robin's presence here now means that they were victorious, with a swift victory at that. And the army that he took is back almost as complete as he took it. The extent of the victory that has been achieved can be only imagined. Robin and the rest nodded and found themselves seats in the empty chairs that were waiting for them. The tent had nothing but chairs placed around a large map drawn on the ground and a few stones and pieces of wood showing the distribution of their army and the hostile armies. With one glance at the ground, Robin understood the situation. The clash will happen today. Saint David nodded. They have quickened their movements. Perhaps in 2 or 3 hours you will find them at sight. That isn't good news for us. The cavalry and the archers are all tired from traveling. I brought them directly after the battle seeking to reach you guys and rest here. I thought we still had a day until the battle. Robin slowly rubbed his forehead. In fact, he himself and the Special Legions were also extremely tired. Robin ordered to turn back after the moment of victory and didn't wait to let them rest. But they are better off than those who are still in the energy-based stage like the ordinary cavalries and archers. He wanted to make sure he is among the main army so that he can help if needed, and seeing the situation. He was right, but the cost. Don't worry about that. Their army is no better off. David smiled and shook his head. He understood what Robin was implying. Huh? They are tired? Of what exactly? It's impossible that any army in this duchy could have stopped them. They are cowards that won't take a step forward if they don't absolutely have to, and there isn't any big noble family in their route. How is it possible that they are tired as well? Asked Billy, surprised. Since they entered the Principality of Alton and sent a portion of their army to attack nearby small towns and villages, they have plundered and destroyed 7 places. If our army is busy killing several 100,000 farmers everywhere, I suppose they will get tired soon enough. We have had to advance more than 100 miles more towards them after we had pleas from the next cities on their path. Their elders came here and prostrated in front of everyone here to make us advance to protect them. I was about to refuse, but one of the elders has recommended this location to us, which was actually better than the previous one, so here we are. We are currently in a very good strategic location. It has a small hill that is about 5,100 meters higher than its surroundings, with the near lands around us in a perimeter of 1,000 meters is exposed with little trees which will help using the talisman arrows. There are some forests and higher hills behind the 1,000 meters mark, but we can basically ignore those, so I decided to wait for them here. As they want to continue towards the rest of the duchy, they have to get past us first. Reports say that they also began to gather again in one body. Most likely they knew that a large army is waiting for them here, and they wanted to make sure of victory. Robin widened his eyes. They are exhausting themselves by attacking common cities and villages? What arrogance! David shrugged. The entire duchy army is currently trapped in the Lying Water Kingdom. Who could stop them? They just came to sabotage and plunder. Robin laughed. Let's announce to the world that is another lion in the den then. David nodded. Tell me, what happened in your battle? Oh, nothing special. We found them in the midst of a battle against a Baron family and attacked them from behind. We didn't need the cavalry nor the archers, honestly. The first Fire Legions alone have eaten a third of their army. The rest were either killed or captured in a matter of an hour. Mila and Billy and the rest killed the enemy saints too. None of them have escaped. Oh? What about losses? A little less than 1,000 ordinary cavalry and a few knights of the Fire Legion has died. This happened after the first dash ended and the close combat began. Thinking about it, I might have made different orders to save their lives. Robin shook his head. It's still a pretty good loss. But where are the captives? One of the old knights asked. Prisoners of war have a high price in the market, especially if their level is high and their age is young. I left them to the Baron, Robin shrugged. I wanted to get back quickly before the great battle began here, so how could I drag behind me a few thousand soldiers bound in chains? Second, his city was devastated by fires. I think he would benefit more from them than us. Ha ha ha. Only you can forfeit hundreds of thousands of coins so easily. I hope that bastard of a Baron would remember your grace. David laughed out loud. Robin smiled and stood up. I'm going to rest in my tent now. Everything is at your disposal, Uncle David. But when the war begins, please let someone remind me to come and watch it from the side. Robin suddenly opened his eyes and stood up from his meditating position after hearing a loud explosion. Your Excellency, the enemy army has arrived and they have already entered our shouting range. A turbulent sound came from outside the tent. Robin exits the tent and looked towards the east from where the explosion sounds are coming. Yeah, I could tell that we are shouting someone. Why didn't anyone call me earlier? They took us by surprise. Please go to the commander's tent and you will know everything about the situation. The knight bowed. Tisk okay, you can go back to your squad. Robin gestured at him and walked towards the commander's tent. 2 minutes later, what happened? How did the battle suddenly begin? Robin lifted the curtain and hurriedly entered the tent. Come see for yourself. Saint David did not look behind him as he knew who was talking, but pointed in front of him. Robin slowly approached from behind him and looked through the open eastern side of the tent. As if the green lands were covered with human bodies, like locusts all hurrying towards his direction in a crazed manner. Within sight there is nothing could be seen but soldiers. If Robin wasn't sure there were 300,000 soldiers, he would have thought that there are a few million of them. Explosions rang out from under the ground as they entered the landmine's range. But their running didn't stop. Talisman arrows flew over Robin's head to fall on the incoming ants. But their march didn't slow down. These distances? Robin finally spoke in shock. Saint David nodded with a problematic look over his face. You have noticed, there is a distance of at least 2 meters between every soldier and any other nearest soldier. Every arrow and every landmine that explodes kills or injures only one of them. Sometimes it misses and doesn't even cause a slight injury. This is no different from just shouting ordinary arrows. Then he inhaled and continued. They showed up from the horizon running with this strange formation, and as you can see so far we have only been able to hunt a few thousand soldiers of them, and it cost us about 10,000 talismans. Robin narrowed his eyes. So this is one of the so-called strategies against the use of fire explosion talismans. At this rate, all our fire explosion talisman stock will be drained quickly and the battle will turn into a normal fight after. That's indeed smart. No wonder the two dukes are having problems there. Uncle David, do you have a plan against this? Saint David finally gave a slight smile. Watch and learn, kid. Then he continued shouting with a loud voice. The 1st, 2nd, and 3rd battalions of heavy infantry advance 50 meters and form a shield wall along the front. 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th battalions of spear infantry stand behind the heavy infantry units and prevented the enemies from jumping above the shield wall. Quickly, the soldiers began to move according to orders. Within less than a minute, the aforementioned battalions advanced just about 50 meters from the rest of the army, and the 3,000 heavy infantry soldiers formed a wide line extending about a kilometer, all of them holding huge categorized shields. After their positioning, each of them planted his giant categorized shield into the ground to form a cohesive shield wall that was a little higher than they are. Immediately behind them, the spear-carrying soldiers were distributed in 2 rows, at equal distances from each other, and raised their spears up in an attacking position. They were ready to stab the hell out of anyone trying to jump or play any tricks. The view in front of Robin speaks of the extent of the soldiers' discipline. There are many good details that happened without even being ordered by Saint David, which was evidence of General Edward's good training of these men. Also, the new armament that is evident in the categorized spears and shields made him smile. These are the new power of the family. But the sight also indicates danger. The front line of defense has become extremely thin. With some pressure they can penetrate any point and reach the heart of our army. If that happened, we wouldn't be able to use the talismans to the fullest anymore. Saint David nodded. I know, but look at their formation. If I don't stretch the line of defense to be like them or even longer, they will go around us and attack the sides. It might be dangerous, but it is an inevitable move. Get ready for the clash. It is coming. The assistant general in charge of the armored infantry shouted. HYA. The 3,000 of them shouted as they planted their own feet to the ground as well. Just moments after completing the preparation, the incoming army quickly crashed into the shield wall formed by the Burton family's heavy infantry. The shield wall endured the first shock thanks to the strength of the categorized shields, but the shields began to tilt back little by little with each new row reaching the collision line. It was clear that they would fall at any moment now. Talisman's archers, shoot! General David shouted. Finally, with a clear target and so many human boats to shoot at, about 2,000 archers above the hill began to shoot arrows like rain over the other side of the wall. The soldiers of the Burton family hid more under their shields to avoid resounding explosions a few feet away from them, but they could not avoid the blood and body parts that fell on them from above. During the loud explosions, the lying water soldiers succeeded in breaking the shield wall in a few separate locations along the kilometer-wide wall, but it was quickly repaired as the heavy infantries who were pushed back with their shields got back to their spots again and filled it. And those who tried to sneak in were quickly killed by the spearmen, They held no chance against that many categorized war spears pointing at their throats. In about 5 minutes, the about 30,000 lying water soldiers who made up the first wave were completely wiped out, with the 2,000 archers pulling their bow strings again to start a new round. A shout came from the assistant general in charge of them. "Enough! There's something peculiar." There was no more crowding in front of the shield wall. The rapid advance of the enemy soldiers suddenly stopped, but they still kept the meters distances between every soldier. It's like they froze where they stood. St. David's features changed. Problem. It seems that the shield wall bait won't work till the end. I was expecting to wipe out at least half of their army first using it. That person is not willing to make great sacrifices today. Actually, those heavy infantries that were pushed back were playing a kind of a bait itself, to make them think it is still possible to break the shield wall and have them keep coming to try, but even that didn't work. Robin narrowed his eyes. It can be understood that they do not want to sacrifice larger numbers of soldiers to win, but standing in their places will not win them the battle either. What are they thinking? You all? Who are you? Even the main army of the Altan Duchy that came to invade our lands didn't dare to use talismans with such intensity. And from where did you get all those categorized shields from? While everyone was waiting for the next step, a shout came from behind the enemy soldiers. "We are the Burton family. Go back to where you came from. You shall not advance into the territory of this duchy any further." David shouted. Their job is to defend the duchy while the Altan family's army is outside. If he managed to push them back without further losses, it would be the best possible outcome. "The Burton family? I have heard about you. No wonder you have all these talismans and categorized spears and shields, but do you think that 3,000 categorized shields can protect you from us? You are dreaming. Hey, don't you have hostility with the kingdom of Dalaver? What do you have to do with what's going on here? Listen. Take your army and retreat, and I give you my word that we will not approach your territory, or else." The voice answered, clearly respecting his opponent, but he had no intention of retreating. "Show me your worst." David replied straight away with no room for further negotiation in this direction. As long as Robin promised the Duke that they would do something about it, they couldn't hold back no matter how strong their opponent was, especially not when they were winning. There was no further reply from the lying Water Kingdom army's side, but a few hundred individuals among their ranks began to gather in a single attacking formation, and then they quickly advanced towards the shield wall. Knights! The first thing that crossed everyone's mind when they saw their speed. If they continued at that pace, they will surely make a huge hole in the shield wall, St. David muttered, then shouted to his left, "The Heavenly Lions Battalion! Advance!" 800 individuals in full categorized body armor with a roaring lion icon engraved on their armor quickly advanced and stood in a defensive formation in front of the shield wall. All of them were knights. These were the knights who had emerged from the new nobles' families that swore allegiance to the Burtons in the new lands over the past few years. An entire battalion of knights had been formed from them alone. It is worth mentioning all that they got was a weak minor law heavenly technique that appeared strong because of how perfect the law technique is, and they still had such numbers of knights emerging from their ranks. It shows how much these people were thirsty for power. "Get out of the way, you damn weaklings!" The lying water knight who was running up in front shouted. They came expecting resistance for their enemy knights, but the ones that came out to stop them were just too trashy. Those who loved to battle were actually disappointed at what they saw. Standing on the hill, with a single look St. David could determine the level of the man who just shouted, a level 20 knight. And those behind him as well wasn't too far off, almost half of them were above level 14. Although their numbers are also around 800, the quality difference between the two parties was like day and night. Knowing that his own battalion consists of knights that are at levels between 11 to 13, St. David Bubbles shrank. Boom! The first clash was too bloody. As soon as the two parties meet, too many heads and body parts fell to the ground. All of them belonging to the Heavenly Lions Battalion Knights. The attacks of water and fire were flying everywhere, but the water always won. Quickly, a great crack began to appear in the ranks of the Heavenly Lions Battalion. It was clear that this battle wouldn't last for another 5 minutes. "What are you waiting for? Do something!" Robin raised his voice as he saw the sight in front of him. He couldn't control himself anymore. This massacre can't be allowed to continue. Damn it! David cursed, then shouted, Caesar, take your men and— No! Robin interrupted with a shout. Leave the Fire Legion aside. Seeing the current situation, we will need them in another mission soon. What do you need them for? This is the Knights' battle. Secondly, if I leave him aside, what do I do then? David shouted at him. Send out the Darkness Legion quickly, and appointed the Wind Legion to help from afar as well. Robin suggested. Right. Theo, take your men and go, you know what you have to do. Peon, shoot those bastards down. Don't allow them to have their way. We hear and obey. The two bowed and disappeared. 7th and 8th Battalions go to the right flank, 5th and 4th Battalions. Stay here, help to break through. 3rd Battalion UG. The field commander of the Lying Water Knights couldn't finish his words. A metal arrow was planted in the middle of his throat, and before he could try to take it out, the arrow exploded, causing his head to burst 30 meters into the air before hitting the ground in a frightening sight. Your priority is to concentrate on anyone who tries to give orders. Your second priority is to help our knights there as much as you can. Don't give them time to even think about advancing again. Peon shouted as he lowered his bow from about a kilometer away from the target. Yes, Commander. The 600 Wind Legion soldiers responded in union before they pulled back their bow strings and shouted 600 metal arrows towards the knight's battlefield. The extraordinary sense of hearing that users of the major heavenly law of wind possess, combined with the added wind speed of the arrows and their ability to change their direction after the launch, made these categorized metal arrows more lethal than any long-range weapon known to the planet, especially when you attach level 10 fire explosion talismans to the arrows. Stay low. Watch out for those arrows. Shouts and screams of the Lying Water Knights formation began to resound for the first time since the first clash happened. Even though the 600 arrows had successfully reached their targets, it had only managed to kill 15 knights of them. The rest managed to block the arrows, but it was at the cost of retreating in front of their opponent and losing ground and momentum. Just after the first wave of the arrows, the advance of the Lying Water Knights stopped and they began to fight the Burton's Heavenly Lions Battalion more cautiously as they put half their mind in trying to predict and stop the incoming weird arrows. While everyone else was preoccupied with the arrows or the low-level knights standing in front of them, a loud cry resounded from one of the knights as he found a dagger piercing his heart from behind. What is it? They are using dark talismans. Watch out. Come close and protect each other's backs. First, the Lying Water Knights came with great confidence and didn't care about cooperation and coordination between themselves. Seeing Burton's knights were much weaker, they just wanted to get it over with as soon as possible. Then they started to leave spaces between them due to the exploding strange arrows, and their advance stopped due to the killing of a number of their ground leaders. And now they came back to approach each other again and slowly retreated after the Knights of the Dark Legion appeared. Everything was going perfectly. Even St. David started to smile from ear to ear at the sight in front of him. It won't work. Robin's voice beside him cut off his satisfied smile. What are you talking about? Look ahead of you. We are winning. The general looked next to him, furrowing an eyebrow. Robin did not answer him directly, but Robin inserted his soul sense into the ring. He was clearly sending a message. A moment later, movements began to occur in the lines of the army that attracted St. David's attention, and he found that the Fire Legion was retreating behind the hill. He looked back at Robin quickly. Was it you who ordered this? Where did you send them? Robin raised his finger and pointed at a certain point among the enemy army. Do you see their general? Of course not. David shook his head after casting his eyes in that direction. It was a sea of soldiers. Even when he was talking before, he didn't see him, so how can he spot him now? I just pointed him out for you, you still can't see him? Anyway, I see him clearly. Robin fixed his gaze at a very angry-looking old man, giving commands left and right. With his eyes, Robin could even read the movements of his lips from that distance, then continued. He intends to send the 20 saints of his to help the knights to complete their mission and open a hole in the shield wall. They will join the fight in a few minutes. And he is also ordering his army to stand ready and to ignore the knight's battle and quickly get through that hole when the saints open it. The situation will be devastating if that happens. They have 20 saints. What the hell are Galen and Raymond doing there? How can they spare 20 saints and send them here? David panicked. As he calculated, they currently have 6 saints from the Burton family. 4 of them are only level 21 plus Mila, meaning 7 saints in total trying to struggle against 20 saints. Well, this is the army of Harris family, the Middle Duchy that wasn't attacked. They send quite a few of their own here. It seems that they came with much more ambition than just relieving their anger. Saint David panicked. This is bad. What do we do? Why did you make Caesar withdraw with the Fire Legion? We could use that combined attack now. Hey, that wasn't easy on me and you know it. Stop counting on it. Plus, if I do it, I will burn our knights too. And if we tell them to retreat back first, the wall of shields will collapse because of the enemy's knights even before their saints arrive. That definitely won't work. Robin shook his head. What to do then? The saint asked again. Commanding armies was definitely not his greatest point. Do what I will tell you to the letter. On the other side of the battle, Sam, Mahi, all of you, are you all ready? I have heard that the Burtons have very few saints and knights and that they were only an ordinary Earl family a few years ago. Technically speaking, you should easily open that gap in the shield wall and reach their general headquarters. But in truth, we don't know the real strength of the Burton family. We can see now that they have 800 new knights, and maybe there are many saints hidden as well. I will not lie to you all. If the mission was executed as planned, a few of you might need to sacrifice their life. The general shouted at 20 individuals standing around him. No need for this talk right now, just give us orders. We will make our way towards their general above that hill and take his head no matter how many saints await us. A saint hit himself proudly on the chest. The general nodded. All right, in 10 seconds you can, The general stopped his speech in the middle. What is going on over there? The saints around him moved their eyes toward the battlefield as well, and expressions of joy began to appear on their faces. Ha ha ha, excellent. As expected of our mighty men. The battle of the knights in the middle took an unexpected turn. A gap appeared on the left side between the Burton knights, and a few dozen lying water knights slipped out of the battle using it and were now running towards the shield wall to complete their mission. And none of the Burton knights were free to chase them. Looks like the hole in the shield wall will be made without your intervention after all, ha ha ha. The general laughed out loud, loving what he sees, then started shouting, Advance! Keep the loose formation and move forward. Don't let your knights' good work go in vain. Yeah! A loud shout resounded from all of the nearly 270,000 soldiers as they began running again in the same divergent formation as before. Upon hearing the shout, the Knights of Lying Water automatically began to leap towards the left, bringing with them the Knights of the Burton family and the Darkness Legion. So the central area emptied once more for the massive army. The difference this time was that the scene in front of the Lying Water infantry was not the same. The few dozen knights who had managed to escape had already reached the shield wall and were able to kill the heavy infantry and even the spear holders behind them. In the blink of an eye, a hall of more than 100 meters appeared in the middle of the wall. Heya! Glory to the Lying Water! Glory to the Duchy of Harris! Move! Move! Seeing their knights wreaking havoc on the soldiers of the Burton family and the huge gap in front of them, made their blood boil from excitement, and started to accelerate even faster. After they stormed that point, the talismans wouldn't be used freely as before because the Burton archers would be killing their own as well. A real battle would begin where the strongest and most experienced would win. Woa! They are coming! Get back! Save your life! The screams began to rise among the soldiers of the Burton family as they saw the coming crazed-looking soldiers thrown the huge gap in the shield wall. The part of the army that was facing the gap in the shield wall began to morally and literally collapse rapidly, and the soldiers retreated too quickly that they even began to step and trample over each other. Seeing what was happening increased the Lying Water soldiers' enthusiasm exponentially as they sped forward shouting, To glory! Because the gap was only about 100 meters wide, the Lying Water army began to automatically become closer to each other and the gaps between the soldiers returned to normal in the more advanced rows. Seeing the new situation and how tightly the lying water formation has become, the Burton family's talisman's arrows and landmines returned to work, with every explosion able to kill or seriously injure 3 to 4 individuals. But this did not stop them. The infantries in the first rows kept running as if their life depended on it. And it is. The explosion threat will all be greatly reduced when they arrive at the Burton Army infantry front lines and the close combat begins, especially so for the closest to the fighting line. That's why all of them kept ignoring the explosions and the body parts flying around and only focused on how to get to the frightened Burton's infantry first. Not only that, when they kill those frightened infantry units, they can keep running straight to climb that hill and kill the annoying archers and seize their armory of talismans. HYA! The first few rows of the lying water soldiers crossed the gap in the shield wall and rushed at full speed towards the Burtons who were trying to flee backward in front of them, ignoring the soldiers that were still standing firmly on either side. Take this! Like a hot knife in cheese, the incoming lying water soldiers attacked the undefended backs of the Burtons' army who were trying to escape. A bloodbath began. And still, the Burtons facing the gap still trying to rush back towards the hill, not trying to defend themselves against the full assault that was reaping their lives. Keep moving forward. It is in our hands. Once we reach the top of that hill, the battle will be over. The assistant general responsibility of the infantry started shouting at the top of his voice. Things are going much better than expected. The 2,000 Burton archers still rained down their arrows at the back rows of the lying water soldiers, killing thousands with each wave. But that didn't stop them. They actually tried to accelerate their pace to reach an even deeper position inside the Burton army. The death rate significantly dropped to those at the front lines as expected. The archers can't target his men who got close to the Burton's army because they have almost been mixed up, and targeting them would kill the Burtons too. Those at the far sides after entering the gap began to attack the rest of the Burton soldiers that didn't fall back to also gain refuge from the arrows and may frighten those chickens too. But their hopes were shattered. The Burton soldiers at the sides were all fierce, killing anyone trying to come near without taking a step back. Those who tries to fight them found it no different from waiting for an arrow. They were both certain deaths. But thank the heavens that the cowardly Burton family soldiers that were in the middle made it too easy for them. So orders came to only keep the Burton family soldiers at the sides busy, but to only continue pushing through the middle. Even leaving aside the killing of the archers and seizing their arrows, that would already mean the end of the battle. Even without this point, after they have pierced them to the end and split the army in half, their formations will be destroyed. Then, claiming the higher land that is the hill, they can come down from above and easily eliminate the rest. Advance! Push! Push those cowards! After pushing the ranks of the cowardly Burton family soldiers for about 300 meters back, their speed of advance began to slow down noticeably. What is going on ahead? Why are we not moving anymore? Shouted the assistant general of the infantry. The soldiers of the Burton family held their positions and began to resist. They still have hope, huh? That no longer available. The assistant general smiled. Send more soldiers? Push harder. We must split them in half in the incoming 30 minutes at most. Yes, Commander. The officer bowed and retreated to order a few more battalions to start jumping over their brothers' heads and move quickly to the front line. To glory! Death to the Black Sun bastards! Another 15 minutes passed. More soldiers began to advance from the back rows to fill the gap their brothers has made and to jump on the retreating Burton family soldiers to quickly kill them and make them lose morale again. And with that, the Burton family soldiers that were behind the gap at the shield wall has retreated for another 200 meters. 100 meters wide and 600 meters deep. More than 150,000 soldiers were crammed closely together. And the number is still increasing, pushing and trying to keep advancing towards the hill with all their might. Explosive talisman arrows attack their back rows, and a few arrows target their middle every now and then, but whoever dies was the one behind him trampling on his body and completing the push forward fiercely. The smiles of the generals and the lying water saints became ear to ear. With great sacrifices, victory became their sights. Now! With less than 50 meters remaining before they kill their way towards the hill, a loud voice echoed. The last few soldiers of the Burton family quickly leaped backward, and a wall of categorized huge shields appeared in front of the lying water soldiers, frightening them. Hya shouted the soldiers of the Lying Water at the front line and tried to attack and uproot a few shields of the wall, but to no avail, and everyone who came close to a certain distance would be stabbed by a spear from over the wall, slashing his head. Where are the knights? We need them again. The rush stopped once more. Everyone automatically awaited their knights to come from behind and destroy the shield wall again as they did a while ago. But when they looked behind them, they found their knights were fighting people with bows on their backs and light swords in their hands, and their heads were quickly falling one by one. A complete one-sided massacre. The 600 knights of the Wind Legion had descended from the hill and blocked the road from behind. "Make your way to the side. We have to dash," shouted the assistant general. Attacking the sides was a waste of time and energy in his eye minutes ago, as the Burton family soldiers that didn't retreat were all strong and most of them was holding a categorized weapon. Focusing on moving forward was the right choice then, but any more, attacking men that are made of flesh and blood was much better than trying to take down this damn shield wall in front of them. But even this dangerous idea was met by another wall of categorized shields to his left, and when he looked behind him, he saw a shield wall on his right as well. They were sealed in like a giant cup of human bodies, in a formation that looked like they were surrounded by categorized shield walls from the front and the two sides, while they were blocked by 600 knights from the rear. And the assistant general could see that more heavy infantry with categorized shields appeared behind them to complete the rectangle shape and block them completely inside, and saw the 600 Burton family knights moving with extreme speed and started to take position around the rectangle. It was obvious that they wanted to help the spear holders in their mission to make sure no one will jump over these walls. Where the hell did you get all these categorized shields from? The assistant general started shouting. My men, fear not. Keep moving forward. We have to break through this wall. We must get to the top of the hill at full speed. As he said, the hill and pointed upwards to fire up his soldiers and give them a target and a new hope. But when their eyes turned up, whatever hope left was gone, and replaced by complete despair. The number of the talisman archers at the top has increased by at least 5,000 more of them. They became so much that the top of the hill appeared to be covered with humans. Seeing this, despair possessed even the assistant general himself as he muttered, "This is bad. Release." Boom boom asterisk. After the order was given, the nearly 7,000 archers started injecting their energy into the fire explosion talismans, then shot at the closed sea of human bodies randomly. Arg! Open a way for me. I have kids, I don't want them to be orph dash. Don't shoot your arrows here. Don't shoot here. I surrender. The first round was sufficient to kill whatever fighting intent within them. Many of them started to throw down their weapons and try to find a close corpse to get under it and protect themselves from the explosions. As after the second round, the huge closed rectangle turned into a massive pool of sticky blood. Because the shields were firmly attached to each other and planted in the ground, the blood and body parts of tens of thousands of dead did not seep outside, but rather accumulated inside the rectangle and began to rise with each falling arrow. Leaving aside the terror descending from the sky, looking underground was enough to kill any remaining spirits of the Lying Water soldiers, who were soaked in their brother's blood. The third round came down, killing over 20,000 additional soldiers, and killing with them any shred of brains left in the rest. In the blink of an eye, everyone threw their weapons to the blood lake beneath them, knelt down and raised their hands to the sky, expressing complete submission. On the other side, damn it! The general of the Lying Water army and the rest of the saints by his side floated up and they could see everything going on inside the rectangle. It was the definition of the term one-sided massacre. The general then looked down. His originally 300,000 strong army has come down to less than 100,000 soldiers that haven't entered the death box in time. As for his knights, they are all now fully engaged with the Knights of Burton's army, who has a roaring lion icon on their armor. And those who used the darkness talismans and hit from the shadows, they were already in balance before, but after a few tens of knights of the Lying Water Kingdom side left them to open the gap, the knights' battle slightly lost balance and it became in the Burtons' favor even without the Wind Legion helping them. He desperately wants to depend on them to break that wall again. But he has no way he can pull some of them to help or the rest of his knights will be massacred. But thinking about it, even if he managed to pull some of them out of the knight's battle, he still faces a big problem. And that is the 600 bow-bearing knights standing in front of him and besieging the shield wall rectangle. Where did the Burton family get all these knights from? Isn't the Burtons our startups who were ordinary Earl family just a decade ago? Currently, he has no weapon but himself and the rest of the saints. He can only make his way through the 600 bow-bearing knights quickly and destroy the wall and then deal with them in an open battle. If he and his saints started a fight in the middle of the enemy infantry, they can use the opportunity to kill a few tens of them with wide-scale energy attacks and cancel their advantage. Maybe he can send an attack or two towards the annoying archers up the hill as well. As for his 100,000 soldiers, if he broke through the walls for them, they could still save their comrades, continue the plan and keep going up the hill and tip the scales again in their favor. Everyone, we are going all in, advance. The general resolved to command him, so he raised his sword at the Burton family's army and flew towards them quickly, with the 20 saints flying behind him. Help! But, instead of the war cries, screams of pain and despair suddenly sounded from behind him. The general and the rest of the saints stopped and turned around to look back, and they found 1,500 war horses piercing the rear of their army with ease like they were stepping on ants. Are those knights? Damn! Realizing the situation, the general shouted, "Quickly go back and stop them! You are all going to die today!" Seeing the saints coming towards him, Caesar let out a loud shout, "Fire Legion! We shall feast on saints today!" Then he raised his halberd upwards, and a gray-colored flame erupted out like a dormant volcano that stayed silent for thousands of years. Just the extremely gloomy aura of the gray flames alone was enough to terrify everyone who felt it. The 1,500 fire knights activated their white flames and advanced behind their leader, and rushed straight towards the saints. On the other side of the scene, is that the Fire Legion? Saint David was suspended after he saw a sea of white flame sweeping the enemy army from behind. Robin nodded. Yep, I told Caesar to go round them and attack them where they stand, and maybe pull them back even further from us by attacking their weaker soldiers that stand at the rear. Why? We could have just sent them from here in a straight line, David asked with a raised eyebrow. A hint of sarcasm could be heard in his tune as well. If they marched from here, their saints would have advanced quickly to stop them before they reached their army. Another battle at the middle would have erupted, and at least one of them would have sneaked, destroyed the shields, and wreaked havoc here. Another saint might have slipped and returned to their remaining army and moved them to cause even more chaos. All in all, it would have been a very stupid move that put us on a standstill. And we don't want that, do we? Robin replied directly. You? David looked at his side in amazement. Is that really the inexperienced boy? He led the battle from start to finish as if he had fought 100 wars in the past. What? I have read a few books. Robin laughed and then looked to Saint David his side. Why are you still here? Take Mila and the rest of the saints and half the Wind Legion and go help Caesar, and send the other half of the Wind Legion to finish the battle against the knights on the right flank. This battle is over. 1 hour later, everything was over. The Lying Water Kingdom saints' battle against the Fire Legion initially was somewhat balanced. The saints couldn't have it their way in front of the seas of white flames, but still, the average level of the Fire Legion knights was quite low, and quickly dozens of Fire Legion knights ended up giving their lives for the cause. But that situation didn't last long. After the arrival of Mila, David, and the rest of the Burton saints and working with the knights as the spearhead, along with the 300 Wind Legion knights who kept annoying the Lying Water saints with their explosive arrows every time they plan an attack, the situation quickly turned around to their favor. The battle became much more at ease that 500 fire knights defected from fighting the saints and began to wreak havoc on the remaining Lying Water army without being deterred, causing great destruction in it. Trapped by flames and explosions from all directions, the Lying Water saints began to fall one by one at a high rate and began to tactically retreat little by little towards the east. Even Caesar managed to deal the final blow to a level 21 saint and kill him with the help of a Fire Legion squad. The screams of this particular saint resounded on all the battlefield, giving a shudder to anyone who heard him. It was unknown whether those screams were because of the strange gloomy gray flames that were burning his guts that gushed out, or out of shame that he is dying at the hands of a mere level 14 knight. Seeing that the situation would not get any better, the Lying Water General flew away towards the east at top speed along with 6 other saints without even bothering to look back anymore. On another front, the knights' barely balanced battle was broken after the 300 knights of the Wind Legion arrived personally at the field to help. Although Robin appointed them for support from behind and for gathering information, they were all using perfect major heavenly law technique. One that the Wind Emperor used to establish his empire and the one his descendants used to rule nearly a quarter of the known world. Wind blades and hurricanes blew away the remaining Lying Water Knights. Most of them were killed or captured in no time after breaking the balance, and less than 100 individuals of them managed to flee. Meanwhile, the main body of the army of the Burtons rushed out and surrounded the rest of the Lying Water army, putting them in chains, as they had done with the others who were caught in the rectangle trap. In this battle alone, more than 120,000 prisoners were captured, and this is a huge record. Usually, soldiers fight with the well-known slogan "victory or death." But again, the secret lies in destroying the morale of the enemy to the point that he does not even want to die. Today, the main army of one of the strongest duchies in the Kingdom of the Lying Water has been broken. In the command tent over the hill, 2 hours after the last soldier of the Lying Water army was chained. "What are our losses?" Robin asked Gloomy right after the arrival of the last official, ignoring the smiles and positive atmosphere in the place. The sight of the Burton infantrymen getting massacred while they were trying to fake escaping can't get out of his head. 25,000 infantrymen were killed, spoke the assistant general in charge of the infantry. 1,000 cavalry were killed, and 2,000 heavy infantry who were in the front row after the wall was destroyed. They attacked from behind, and almost all of them died. Then the assistant general of the special troops added. Caesar looked at Peon and Theo and nodded toward them and then advanced. "The Heavenly Lions Battalion has lost 327 of its finest knights. The Fire Legion lost 118 knights, another 49 knights from the Wind Legion, and 20 knights from the Darkness Legion." Robin's features shrank after hearing these numbers and slowly sat in his place weakly. He looked like he had aged a few hundred years. "Hey, what is the matter with your reaction? Those numbers don't count if we compare them against smashing an army of this size. When everyone knows what happened here, we will be treated like heroes in the Black Sun, and all kingdoms will fear us." "Ha ha ha!" David laughed out loud and patted Robin on the shoulder. The assistant generals, high officers, and the saints present nodded their heads with faces full of smiles. From which side were you looking at it? The victory was overwhelming. Even Mila came behind Robin and hugged his neck. "Don't be hard on yourself. You have done well. If not for your bold strategies, the number of dead would have doubled. Maybe even more." "Saints," Robin muttered, clenching his fist. He was superior to the enemy army in everything except the number and level of the saints. Had it not been for the 21 saints they were facing, he would not have needed to make all those arrangements and plans to limit their danger and trap them. He wouldn't have needed to give orders to sacrifice those 25,000 men and women to make the shield wall trap. They might praise him for the overall picture, but he can stop thinking of the blood he got on their hands after issuing the orders to the infantry behind the gap to retreat and don't fight back. He felt like he had failed them. David looked at the rest of the Burton saints and sighed. He knew what Robin was thinking. Their family deeply lacks cultivators in the sainthood realm, and if it weren't for all the benefits that Robin gave to them recently that added more saints to them and raised the others' level, they wouldn't have won today even with losing half their army. "Our victory today was not because of my strategies or because of my talismans. It was because of the sacrifice of the infantrymen who implemented what I said, knowing that many of them will die, and the knights who fought those who are in much higher levels than them without fear. Give the families of each infantryman a special additional pension, and to each knight's family 10,000 gold coins and a monthly pension of 50 gold coins. Understand?" Robin spoke while rubbing his forehead. "Don't be harsh on yourself, father. Those infantrymen, you are the one who raised their morale to the point of sacrificing themselves without questioning because they know their death wouldn't be in vain. And even those knights, it was you who created them. Also, isn't that a bit too much? I request you reconsider. Caesar was delighted to hear of this decision about the deceased in his legion, but the total amount that needed to be paid has frightened him. Even leaving aside the thousands of infantrymen who will take the extra pension, the 10,000 gold coins for each knight alone is a huge problem. Almost 500 knights died in total. Don't worry, our new slaves will cover the costs after we sell them. Robin waved and then asked one of the assistant generals, "How many fire explosion talismans do we have right now?" The assistant general in charge of the archers took a step forward and spoke. "We had 100,000 in Jura, and the talisman masters brought us another about 30,000 fire explosion talismans from the new lands, bringing the total to 130,000 fire explosion talismans. Patriarch Brian took 20,000 fire explosion talismans with him to protect Bradley's Pearl City, and today we have used 40,000 fire explosion talismans from our stoke. So right now we have about 70,000 fire explosion talismans, a little more or less. We used 40,000 fire explosion talismans in one battle, and yet they weren't the reason we won." Robin muttered, "A disastrous figure." St. David nodded. "The sage had the right to urge the start of this war. Their tactics for dealing with talismans have crystallized to a very advanced stage. If we were not able to produce large quantities of fire explosion talismans now, we would have been defeated in a crashing matter. The kingdom of Dolivar was invaded and half a duchy was taken from them with less than 8,000 talismans. Now this number is not enough to repel the first wave of soldiers in one battle. Mila, call the temporary head of the Rune Academy now. Tell him to declare an emergency and stop making all kinds of other talismans and focus on only the 6th and 10th level fire explosion talismans. From today, no need to make vitality, voice, wind blades, or even darkness. Even those who are still in training should start picking up the pin and try their luck. I need fire explosion talismans. A lot of them." Robin made up his mind and spoke. Mila was surprised by his orders. "I don't think this decision will please the noble families. They are impatiently waiting for the talismans at the monthly auctions in Jura and are already demanding to increase the numbers of auctions and selling points. They will certainly become angry after such a decision, and also, for what will you need all these talismans? Your mission here is over. My father and Duke Raymond already keeping 2 of the 3 enemy duchies busy, and we just smashed the main forces of the Duchy of Harris to pieces. It is impossible for one of the 3 duchies of the Lying Water Kingdom to send an army like this one again in the near future. The nobles wouldn't be pleased? What the hell are those? Let them go and FVCK themselves if they don't like it. I will sell what I want whenever I want wherever I want. If they have a problem with that, then they should go argue with the Burton family's army." Robin waved as if he hadn't heard anything. After he finished his words, a smile automatically appeared on his face for the first time in hours. All he was doing for the sake of the family, whether strengthening the upper icons, training the new generation, supporting and financing, literally everything, was in order to openly say these words. Today's battle had finally proven to him that he no longer had to fear or put anyone into consideration again when taking his decision. Finally, he can do what he wants in his lands and spread whatever he wants to spread of his knowledge without thinking about the consequences of his neighbors. Finally reached a degree of freedom that he was looking for from the beginning. After the news of today's battle spread, everyone will know who the Burton family is. No one will try to provoke them again. Except, when Robin got to this point and thought of the royal family, he shook his head and wiped the smile, then continued to Mila, "What did you mean my task is over? Who will pay for the blood of the family members who died today? What do I tell the thousands of wives, sisters, and children that are waiting for their provider at home? They died protecting the Altons' lands. This." Mila looked with the side of her eyes at St. David, who in turn shrugged, also not knowing what Robin was talking about. "We will get on with this subject at the right time. As for now, just send the orders as I told you." Robin waved and then looked at St. David. "We will wait here for a few days so starts making preparations for it and settle everyone down. In the meantime, you should the war prisoners to Jura to be sold there as slaves. If we kept them here they screw up our rations." "No problem." David nodded with a smile. He was the appointed general for this army. But he didn't feel anything strange as he took orders from Robin. "Good. I will leave you to your new tasks then." Robin stood up and headed toward the exit. When news comes from the Patriarch, let me know. 3 days later, the commander's tent. Why was I summoned? Is there anything new? Robin walked in and asked straight away. Saint Davido nodded and motioned to Robin to be seated. We have received news that the Patriarch fought with the hostile army 100 miles east of Bradley's Pearl. The battle started about 2 hours ago, and we think the results will be transmitted shortly. Oh? That is actually pretty fast. I was expecting he would need at least another day before the battle begins. I think his enemy increased his speed to try to catch him off guard. Robin sat down and spoke with interest. Well, I think we will know soon enough. Is there any news of what we agreed upon last time? The subject about the talismans, war prisoners, etc. Everything is done, the auction house in Jura is closed, and currently 480 runemasters are all working on the production of the fire explosion talismans only. The war prisoners are on their way to Jura City with a small troop of outforces and knights to escort them. I think Jura City Market will be refreshed when they arrive, haha. Good. Very good. Robin replied, then fell into a long silence. Buzzes. Everyone could feel that a message was delivered to St. David Ring, and they all looked at him anxiously. After a few seconds of closing his eyes, he opened them wide and declared, "We are victorious. This is normal. What kind of a report is this?" Robin interrupted the shout of joy that was about to resound from those present, and then continued, "Ask him about the losses." The saint fell silent for another minute, then opened his eyes again, this time not very happy. The enemy army was annihilated except for a few saints and knights that managed to flee. But as for us, 30,000 soldiers were killed, 100 knights of the Fire and Wind Legion combined, and all of their 20,000 fire explosion talismans were used in the battle. Everyone was shocked to hear the full report. No wonder the Patriarch just said that he won at the beginning. The Patriarch faced an army close in size to his own, with his army of 100,000 strong, and his opponent is about 120,000. But the losses are catastrophic. It can be compared to their own losses even though they face 2 armies that are combined 3 times larger than the Patriarch's. Then they all returned to look at Robin. Certainly, without his ruthless instructions at the battle, their losses would not have been limited to what had occurred. Damn it! Robin clenched both hands. He was trying to deal with the fact that his orders has got more than 25,000 men and women killed, and now many more were added to the list. He might not be the one who lead that army and cause their death. He is the one who sent them there and assigned them the limited amount of talismans and knights. Maybe if he assigned more talismans for them. 20,000 fire explosion talismans were already too much in his estimation when he allotted them to the Patriarch. He just couldn't imagine that the modern war strategies would use that much. Robin. Mila took a few tense steps and placed her hand on his shoulder. Don't worry too much about the losses. My father and Duke Alton will surely compensate the Burtons properly for it when they come back victorious. Compensate us for the losses? Those 2 will compensate us for the losses? Don't make me laugh. Robin exploded. Can't you understand what our losses mean? Our army is superior to your father's in terms of armaments, the number of knights, and the number of talismans, yet we have tasted all these heavy losses while we fought on our own lands. So what do you think happens there when they are on a hostile territory with no supply chain and one army after another keeps showing to them? If your father were in control, would he have allowed for an army of 120,000 soldiers to slip from under his nose to attack the capital of his lands? He and Raymond Alton won't be compensating me. I'm afraid they need someone to compensate them in the near future. Mila tilted her head and took a step back. It was unknown if she became worried about her father now she started thinking about the situation there, or it was because of Robin yelling at her. A moment of silence eclipsed the huge tent. That was what was really in their heads. The war in the lands of Lying Water must be witnessing massacres for the Altons and the Bradleys. At the very least, their conquest would never be an easy one as everyone thought. Sai, what do we do now? St. David asked gloomily. Maybe after all these sacrifices the 2 dukes will return defeated and all will go in vain. By then they might refuse to give the lands they promised before to Robin, much less give them any new compensations. Robin rubbed his forehead for a few seconds and then spoke. Let's go step by step. As long as the external threat to the lands of the Black Sun Kingdom is over and we prove to everyone that the Burton family is loyal to the kingdom and shown how we protected its honor and people, now is the time to put an end to the internal conflict. You mean? The saint narrowed his eyes. Robin finally got his hands off his forehead and spoke with a serious tone. Yes, it's time to finish what we left Jura City originally for. It's time to take the family's revenge, and mine too.